Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the ACM and SimHaven's 2 hours of Kayalmi. My name is Olaf, aka Bob's Racing, and I'll be your commentator for tonight as I'm joined, or tonight, this afternoon actually for today, as I'm joined by Lily.
Hello, I'm back once again.
Welcome, welcome. We're looking at qualifying currently, a 30-minute session, halfway through already. So only 14.5 minutes to go, as we got some banger lap times on the table already. And after this qualifying session, it'll be followed by a 120-minute adventure here at Kayalmi. 2 hours of doing some fast laps around this track. In the first half of qualifying, we've seen some good laps already. We see the 194 Porsche put in a 140.667, setting themselves apart at the top of the field. Quite a lot actually already. Over 3/10 clear of second place, also in the 140s, and everyone else just trailing behind. Quite a spread grid as well, looking down at P34, as there's currently 36 cars in that session. A 145.0, so everyone within the 4.5 seconds so far. So that's quite good, I'd say, quite competitive. Looking from all of this, Lily, do you have any insights already?
I mean, I'm just, like you said, I'm looking at these gaps. I mean, I'm looking down to P10. All the way everyone down into P10 is within a second. So I'm really hoping we get quite a close battle. I mean, I've seen some cars, obviously some SimHaven drivers and some ACM. So it's great to see the great mix on the grid today. But yeah, there's definitely a few drivers here which we're looking to challenge for the victory today.
Yeah, like you said, the top 10 within that second. Make that the top 11, as we just saw Stofko in the 133 car, putting in a 141.330, doing a great job so far from all of the drivers here on the grid. A few 1-minute 40s, like I said, 2 of them being placed at the top of the grid. Currently, Lizama with the 140.667 out in first place. That Porsche doing wonders for Luke in first place. We see some other cars on the grid as well. So look at second place. There's the number 87 or 78 McLaren, and behind that we've got a few BMWs, some Ferraris, some Astons, and further down we see 2 Fords and an Audi being dropped in as well, and one singular Lamborghini. So that is someone who probably wants to make a show out of it. That's Lee in the number 260 Lamborghini, currently in 22nd place. He's going to be going down that middle sector on his way to start a new lap, as this lap is not valid. If we're looking at lap improvements, Cryotheos is currently at in the 615 car. Telemetry showing he's 6 seconds up on his previous lap time, which I would say is quite impossible. Looking at the lap time currently set is a 141.2, so I'm not quite sure where that 6.5 seconds are coming from, but he should be on for an improvement anyway.
Yeah, so like I said, I think the race control is glitching out ever so slightly. There's also Tal in P8 as well, the same. But P1 then, 194 Porsche. Well, he was up on the Delta in Sector 1, but he's now down by 2/10. But still looking for some time in Sector 1 by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's a little bit off the road there for Lizama in the, like you said, the 195 Porsche, pushing it to the limits in that first sector, about 10 minutes remaining. Conditions on the track currently kind of warm, pretty warm. 28 degrees in the air and 35 degrees Celsius on the track, which causes these tires to heat up like absolute crazy. So that's going to be a challenge for the drivers to see if they can manage these temperatures and manage the pressures in these conditions. So you do see Cryotheos over the line, and that was not an improvement. That's a 141.912. So that's still in P5 for him. The 615 car is going to stay in P5 for now. As yeah, these conditions can be quite grueling for the drivers. As you know, these temperatures are very hot. They have to manage the tires, and Kayalmi is already overall quite a high tire wear track, especially in these fast corners that Cryotheos is currently moving onto as well. The long right-hander going down the hill. It's a lot of tire, a lot of grip asked from these cars on the way down, on the way through the corner. And then with these conditions, that's going to be, with these temperatures, it's going to be very difficult for them to manage the tires all the way to the end. It's a 2-hour race. It means they have at least one pit stop somewhere in the middle, and 2 for those that are daring and want to go for the alternate strategy. So that is an option that they can take, but luckily most of these will be doing a one-stop. And yeah, in practice, right before the race, right before qualifying started, we did see some rain, and the clouds are overhead as well already, so we might see some rain during this race. We might not, but the chance is there. The chance is definitely there.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, lots of tricky challenges ahead for these drivers. Obviously, rain or just the track itself. Obviously, grip is constantly changing. But as the temperature is so high, I don't expect it to change all too much for the rest of quali. But just actually paying attention. Currently in P6 then is Nike, and in the 909 Ferrari, he's currently 2 tenths up on the lap time. So he'll be looking to solidify his way up to possibly P4 at the moment.
It did go over the grass just a tiny bit to avoid that, avoid the sausage curb. A little bit of grass on entry keeps the sausage curb away. That is, as the new saying, apparently just over 2 tenths up on his time. 6th place currently, jumps up to 4th place, and that is just a little bit behind 3rd. So he'll be starting on the 2nd row as it stands. Everyone up in the top 3 is on a lap time, but I think Lizama just had an invalidation once again. Is on his way to start just another lap, but had an invalidation and slowed it down. Tried to reset and get another one in. Way further in the back, Bavaudas is on his way for an improvement. Also a few tenths up on his previous lap time. So we're going to look at chronological order. Jumps up to P25, 2 places up. Drops our very own Jack Spencer down, who is going to be jumping back up again and takes P25 back. And the number 3 Ford up to 25th place. As we're going to be looking at Goswell, who just puts up to 5th place. That's our own Harry as well. Up in 5th place, jumping up a few positions. And doing a great job so far in this qualifying. A 141.1 for him. Still no 40s for anyone but the top 2.
Yeah, obviously doing low 40s themselves is completely alien. But even lap times in the low 41s is incredibly insane as well. So definitely got a range of good drivers today.
Yeah, as we see Sjögren also take away that place from Harry. Goswell dropping down now to 6th place. He's going to go for another one though. Cryotheos again showing a lot of improvement over his previous lap, but unfortunately ACC race controls a bit funky with the lap times, and he doesn't appear to be improving on this lap, so he just crossed the line without any improvement. And Lizama is now on his way out of the pit lane, got back to reset those tires, maybe stretch out that lead just a tiny bit more. And one driver who hasn't set a lap time yet is Dobel. He's currently in 37th place. House is ahead of him in 36th. Also hasn't set a lap time yet. This 187 Porsche on his way to start a lap, or finishing a lap. That depends on how ACC is feeling, because as you can see, sometimes you can't really see if the drivers are on a lap or are not on a lap just yet. So we're going to see what he does. Dobel now starting a lap, and he was indeed on his out laps. It's going to be making his way onto the first one. Goswell dropped down 1 place just a few moments ago. Dropped down by Sjögren. He's going to be taking back that place. Maybe as he crosses the line, does get an improvement on sector 1, but not in the other sectors. And that doesn't improve his pace within a few hundreds actually before compared to his other time. His previous time is best. And good effort, but still P6 for Goswell.
Yeah, he's actually coming like towards 3 tenths on the delta, actually up into the final couple of corners. So and I know he also had improvement in sector 1. Like I said, he's actually got purple sector 1, so best of the rest, everyone in this session in sector 1. So he'll be looking for a few more tenths then to even work his way into the 40s.
And Hanak now looking for an improvement as well, currently in 2nd place as he went just a little bit over the line. Would be equal on his delta going into the hairpin in sector 2 to the end of that. And unfortunately, this lap won't count for him. It was really, really close to getting an improvement, but sadly not going to be doable on this lap. So this time around he's going to have to wait just a tiny bit longer.
Yeah, obviously got 5 minutes to go then. Obviously these drivers are now going to start preparing to do their final runs, or potentially just to start their final runs now. So obviously depending on what the drivers are loading up the fuel like.
That's Uzebi in the final sector, just a little bit too far off, and that's into the wall. That's his qualifying lap over, and it's got to reset as well. Sorry for the interruption there. I just saw a small spin in the final few corners.
Yeah, obviously it is quite tricky, and when you push to the limit, especially on a track like Kayalmi, coming into these blind corners, it does make it very tricky.
Yeah, we just see Tarle in an improvement lap as well. Didn't end up improving. It's down by over a second as the telemetry is kind of broken for these two drivers. So the 615 and the 42 cars are a little bit broken in terms of the view. Hanak on his way for another improvement lap this time. Maybe not going over the limits. And currently into sector 1, or into sector 2 I should say, as he's on his way to maybe take a chance at snatching away that pole position. Lost a lot of time in the hairpin on that previous lap, even though it was invalid. He still lost a bit of time. He did his best through there, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. So he's through the little downhill section on his way up now towards the hairpin. And hopefully can gain some time here instead. Holds the fastest second sector for now. As, like you said, Goswell's holding the fastest first sector, and the fastest third sector is from Sjogren in 5th place. And Hanak now gaining good time in that downhill. He's looking to snatch away that pole position.
Yeah, he's definitely trying, but he has got more time to find. He actually loses quite a bit of time into that braking zone as well. He has got a car ahead of him. It's coming around this final sector, then I don't think it'd be much of an improvement for Hanak, but it'll be enough, I reckon, to set his pace on these final couple laps.
A little bit too wide on that entry, wide on the apex, and might even be wide here on the exit. Gains a little bit of time on the entry towards that final turn, improves on his lap time. It's not going to be enough. A 140.850 doesn't put it in first place, but it does solidify a little bit of second place, which is fantastic to see as well. So we do see Dobal now, the driver that we were looking at before, in last place without a lap time, jumps up to P19. Putting in the pace as well, and splitting the grid almost in two. As the other driver, House, in the 885 car, is still in the pit. So the Ford from House is still in the box, and might be looking to start last if he keeps this up. He's got some time still. It's about 1 minute 50 before you actually have to leave the pit lane in order to make it through all the way. He's got about 30 seconds to get out of the box. Might fancy himself a little one-shot qualifying, but gonna have to do one more. Goswell is about equal on his lap time. That's very impressive. The pace on this car, the number 8 Aston, is formidable. All of his laps recently have just been really bang on the pace, within a few tenths, or within a tenth even on most times. So Goswell doing a great job of doing some race runs in this qualifying session. So he's looking like a strong opponent for the rest of the grid.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see now, as we head towards the final 2 minutes then. So these drivers are wrapping up their laps or just starting them. Actually, Usby in P11 then, the 29 Ferrari, currently almost 5 tenths up on the Delta as he comes round towards the final sector then. So this will currently put him around where Goswell is at the moment, P6, P7-ish. So he's got to keep the lap clean then to improve.
Yeah, 1 more tenth in that final sector would put him up with the top 4, as he does gain a little bit of time on that right-hander. He's got the tricky corner coming up now, the right-hander with that sausage curve. Taps it a little bit, goes wide onto the grass, and that's qualifying over for him. 1 more lap to go for him, but that doesn't appear to be the greatest start that he can have. And so that's an invalid lap. Great improvement up until that final corner. That's the death sausage. That's what they call it, apparently in the driver's lounge. So that's going to be a very tough one to get around for some of these drivers, and especially get around because they like to send it over it.
Yeah, definitely. I actually just noticed Hanak started his final lap then, and he's almost equal with the Delta. He's actually losing a little bit of time then, but this is the final lap for Hanak then to try and set the pace. The 194 Porsche is in the pit, so he won't be making an improvement, so it's all down to Hanak now.
Yeah, 183 thousandths of a second. That's 0.183 is what Hanak needs. He's currently about dead even. Lost a little bit of time on that dipper there, and chooses to cancel it out and not go any further. So the contenders now for pole position are Zuhaili in 4th place, currently going into that second sector, and Goswell in 3rd place as well. 5th and 6th have gone into the box and won't be doing an improvement at all for their times. Currently solidifying that 141.095, which I just noticed P5 and P6 have identical lap times. So the 909 car and the 118 car are starting 5th and 6th on that 3rd row as it stands, and they have identical lap times.
Yeah, that's quite rare to happen. But I'm actually looking at Goswell's lap then. He was up on the Delta, now he's pretty much equal, but still outstanding improvement as he actually goes off track and invalidates his lap then, but still great pace from the number 8 car.
He's showing laps that are really, really close to his delta as the checkered flag is out. And Zohaili actually invalidated a little bit before as well. So P3 and P4 not improving. Looking at Stofko now on his way in that second sector as well. Let's see if he can keep it within those lines. He's very close within reach of that top 5. Only just within 2.5 tenths. Currently is 2 tenths up, losing a bit of time on the exit there. But he still has half the track to go to maybe find an improvement. Vasily in P10, the number 19 Porsche with 141.4. That is the top 10 within 8 tenths and the top 13 within a second. So it's all very, very close for all these drivers. Looking a little bit further ahead, we see Party, one of the first drivers to cross the line in this final section of the track. You see the number 24 car a little bit ahead as well. That is Karedu as he spins out, and that is his qualifying definitely over. Party now through that final corner needs to make a little bit of time to gain a position. Doesn't get it in the end because that's invalid. That's over. As Maple also very close to the delta, like we saw with Goswell. That's a good sign for race, but goes over the line on the exit there, and that is qualifying over for him as well. Jussi Stofko, the final driver, needs a little bit of time. Does find it quite a lot. P8 all the way up to P5, and that drops down the identical lap times to 6th and 7th. And your pole sitter, Lizama in the 194 Porsche, lining up alongside is Hanak. And then we have Goswell and Zohaili on that second row. Very, very close.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be as close as it is. I mean, I was actually watching Stofko's last lap then, and it just the time he found in that last sector was incredible.
Yeah, he looked to be very close to his previous lap time. And with that was actually a very, very good lap, like you said. That final sector doing a lot of work. And as I said before, we saw some wet conditions in the practice session right before the race. And we have some wet conditions now for the race as well. 4.5 minutes now until the start of the race. Lily, can I have, once again, your predictions?
You know, I think I've actually got to give it to the 194 Porsche. I mean, the pace they showed in quali and the confidence just to sit in the pit lane and hope Hanak didn't get pole position was very close. Obviously, the gap was only around 2 tenths of a second, but I think that Porsche's got it in the bag.
I gotta have to agree with you there. I think the 194 can be a formidable driver. We didn't see too much of consistency just yet. I might have been showing that in the practice session before, or in practice sessions that they've had privately, of course, but didn't really show too much special than rather than just being able to set in a lap, just bang out one, go out, do a lap, and go back into the pits, like you said, having confidence to stay there, and yeah, just knowing that you're gonna get that pole position, or at least hoping for it. I think you should put it on that way, but. Yeah, the 194 Porsche definitely looking strong, but I don't think you should count out Hanak in the 78 or Goswell in the number 8 car as well. Goswell showing very, very high consistency in those qualifying runs, which I think carry over to the race. And that is one of the more important things in endurance racing. Keeping it on the track, keeping it consistent, and staying out of trouble. Of course, the lap 1 is going to be it's going to be a difficult one, as turn 1 is pretty much a danger zone, as is the hairpin and some other corners as well. With these conditions especially, quite medium rain, some standing water. Track condition is wet as it's 3 p.m. It's going to go to 5 p.m., which means that the temperatures are going to be dropping. Combine that with this weather, it's going to make it difficult for all of these drivers to keep their cars on the tracks. And in about 10 minutes, it's going to be heavier rain, and in 30 minutes, it should be dry in the sky. And then we're going to have to wait until the track gets dried out and gets all plowed away with water. So yeah, I think that anyone in the top 3 has got a great chance of getting something. And Stofko putting in that amazing lap as well. Maybe he's just not a qualifier. Maybe he's a race merchant. And that's also something to be wary of. So anyone within the top 10, they were all very close. The top 13 within a second. The top 5 definitely all have a chance to grab that win.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was incredibly close, and the top 25 were very close as well. Just generally on pace, like, I think it was within 2 seconds, the top 25, and that's not something you see all too often. And to have that gap is not actually a lot, 2 seconds in terms of race pace, because like you said, there might be some drivers out here that are much better in the race or some better in quali. So it'll be interesting to see in these 2 hours how the grid shuffles up and down.
And the thing that we've been seeing is dry pace, and if you look at at your screen, look at the view right here. I see quite a bit of rain and quite a bit of water on the track. So yeah, I do think there's a big difference between dry and wet racing. I'm gonna see that in just a moment's time when in 1:30 when we get started with that formation lap, and yeah, wet is obviously a lot different to drive, and some drivers will be wet weather merchants, and some of them will be dry weather merchants. But our boat drivers are definitely gonna have an advantage here, as they know what it's like to drive in these conditions. They like the rain, they know what it is, and they're gonna have a blast at driving this one. And maybe someone outside of the top 10 can do a massive jump here, getting every single braking point right, and just do what I want to call, I like to call a Max Verstappen Brazil, absolutely finding the grip out of nowhere, changing their lines and finding grip everywhere they need to. Maybe send it around the outside a few times, where technically, mathematically, the inside should be faster. So yeah, the wet really does add a little sprinkle of randomness to it, a little bit of inconsistency that I really like to see how that one's going to unfold.
Yeah, obviously these drivers actually can be quite careful of Kayalmi in the wet. I mean, it is quite a tricky circuit in the dry, but in the wet, it's going to be even worse. I mean, coming down to turn 1, as we know, it's quite a steep slope they're coming down in, so they're picking up more speed. Coming to turn 1, they're going to have to brake early. They're going to have to potentially even avoid each other, because if they're not careful, it's soon going to turn into a game of bowling. But something I have noticed as well, actually, is a lot of drivers at the front have constantly made changes to the setup, as you can see by the jacks putting them up and down. So a lot of drivers changing quite a bit on their setup already, and consistently, like more than once. So interesting to see.
There might be some small adjustments made, like you said, by these drivers, just seeing their cars pop up and down, and yeah, the small changes could be done, as Lizama is on his way to start this formation lap, as we're on our way to get started with this 2-hour race. But I think the main thing that is with these conditions are the tire warmers, of course. They're all GT3 cars, so it's something that these drivers like to do is keep the jacks up, and then as soon as the timer hits about 10 seconds or 5 seconds, they like to drop the car down, make sure that it's there in time, because if you don't, you're going to be starting from the pit lane, like we have a few cars here. Wong in the number 91 car and the Martinez in the 979 car will be starting from that pit lane. They didn't make the cut, they didn't hit drive in time, so they'll be starting from the pit lane. As yeah, the tire warmers really help with the start and with the preparation of this lap, of this start of the race, as these wet tires are very difficult to get up the temperature if you're driving this slowly, and the formation lap will be slow, and that's for sure. So yeah, those tire warmers really help with the added temperature, getting some little bit more of a pressure into the tire to not burn down these tires, because it's only about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 20 for the rain there to disappear, but they're still gonna have to drive that on a drying track after it gets dry in about 20 minutes, let's say. So yeah, they're gonna have to keep the tires pretty healthy, and the longer they can do that, the better performance they will get out of it. And getting those tire warmers is one of the best ways to do that, and that's why we saw the cars jump up and down for just a few times, just to maybe try and reset those temperatures as well.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, if anyone remembers when me and Wopsy were commentating the 24 Hours of Nordschleife not long ago, the conditions we had were when they were changing into wet to dry or dry to wet, being on the wrong tire on the track is definitely going to be quite challenging for these drivers. And as we saw quite a spectacle indeed, but it's going to be quite tricky for all these drivers today.
And to add on what you're saying is, I think the choosing the right lap to pit is going to be crucial in these changing conditions. If you pit one lap too early, you're going to have dry tires that are absolutely not getting up to temperature, no pressure. You're going to lose a lot of grip. They're going to be starting graining and blistering very early on, and you're going to have to drive the rest of your stint with those damaged tires. But if you pitted on just the right lap to get the optimal performance out of each tire compound, then you're going to have a blast in driving this track, as these drivers are lining up to go onto the starting grid.
Yeah, this is going to be a very close start. So we know the McLaren gets a fantastic launch, but so does the Porsche. So it's pretty much going to be a drag race down into turn one. Also, the Aston also quite fast on a straight line, and so is the BMW. So mainly, I expect the top four to start to pull away from get-go green flag racing from these two Ferraris behind.
And let's see if that is going to happen, or if someone named Stofko can put a stop to this. Heading on to the line, waiting for the green flag to run. Goswell lining up in third, as we do see Hanak side by side now with Lizama as we're waiting for that green flag. And it's away at the 2 hours of Kayalmi. Lizama, it's a very good start out there. Goswell dropping back a little bit. That Aston not pulling away. Hanak away very well. Zahaili on the inside, very deep braking, a little bit too deep, goes off the track, and that's Goswell as well, pushing another driver quickly to the side. That's Hanak being pushed towards the outside, but jumping right back, and that is still second place. Everyone dropping up and down. That is very, very rough racing, I'd say, with Goswell taking away third place, and Zahaili dropping back down the order. No big crashes, I'd say. Some exiting out of the pits. Did we have some big crashes? We might have. Going to look at that in the replay. Goswell's trying to chase down. Actually, that's not Hanak, that's Stofko on his way through. Currently in second place, and Goswell having to see what happened there with Hanak, as he's dropped down to 7th place. And this is Stofko in the 133 Ferrari, upsetting the entire start of that race and doing a great job at getting away. Gonna look at the race start now on that replay, see what Stofko came away from. And look at it on the left side, the black car currently in 5th place on that replay. Has got a lot of pressure from behind as he makes his way out onto the front. Everyone on the outside doing a great job. Some banging and just the inside line being open, and Stofko sending it right on through, and is now up in 2nd place.
Yeah, well, that was quite a crazy start indeed. Obviously, I did say the wet conditions aren't going to make turn one challenging. We did see quite a lot of barging then, but a lot of side-by-side movement then for the number 19 of Martin. Was going side-by-side with Usby, now getting under pressure from the Aston behind. So a little 4-car train here, and potentially Usby holding them up. So we have to see if they can get past, but there is light rain in 10 minutes then. So it's no longer decreasing, it is confirmed. Well, I say confirmed, Kunos changes every 5 minutes, but 10 minutes will be light rain, so it is going to get rapidly lighter very shortly.
And Stofko being in 2nd place, currently has Goswell right behind him into turn 1. We've seen this before, but that did not end well for the driver on the outside. Goswell braking a bit harder that time to stop in time and not cause any collisions, as he's on his way to change down the positions and trying to get up to that 2nd place. He's appeared that he started on 2nd, but he started in 3rd, so he's still on the starting position. Wants to jump that one up on there. You say that the front runners are going to be running away from that Ferrari. We do see that in 7th place. Uzebi in just 1.5 seconds almost down on Hanak in 6th place. He's gained 1 place back. So the number 78 McLaren now side by side with Zahaili, trying to get another one of those places around the outside. Maybe you'll have more grip in these conditions, and he does for sure. Hanak up to 5th place. Great overtake, and that's what I said. These conditions really shake up the type of racing that we're going to see. Hanak with the outside line, just getting the overtake done. Amazing line there. Usually that doesn't really work. The inside line is just a lot better, but in the wet, you never know.
Yeah, definitely. I was just paying attention to the leaders then, because Stofko has slightly stayed within the second with the Porsche, but it is still Harry and Stofko. But you can see Stofko actually changing lines there. I'm not sure for what particular reason. I don't know. I wouldn't imagine it's getting that light already, but changing lines then, maybe trying to put Harry off.
Yeah, the most common reason I'd say for getting off the line, like you said, is changing conditions, trying to either cool down the tires a little bit more by going off the racing line, the part where there is still more water on the track, to cool down the tires and get the right pressures, maybe get some more performance out of the tire. But the other reason is to pick up some marbles, because the part where the track isn't rubbered in, there's marbles on the track, of course. The track is a little bit more gritty. There's some more texture on the track, and that's where the drivers maybe find a little bit more grip, as Goswell's trying to send it on the inside, trying to look for the 2nd lap in a row. But Stofko not making it that easy, goes a little bit too wide, and Goswell's now got a great run on this Ferrari, and so going side by side all the way up to turn 4. And Goswell seems to be through, and he definitely is. That's Stofko down to 3rd, and Goswell up to 2nd place, trying to take the charge to Lizama up in 1st place and change it for the victory.
Yeah, definitely. You can actually see Stofko flashing there, so I don't know if he's angry about something, but still, I did think Harry was the faster car. As we know, Stofko did get past on turn 1 because of some door banging. But nonetheless, it is Harry Fluent, and like you said, but still a lot of gaps behind. Actually, P8 just pretty much very close to the bumper of the BMW ahead of Zahali, like you just said. So I think it's Usby got past as well, the 12 BMW. So maybe potentially Imran struggling.
It does look like that number 12 BMW isn't looking too great. Up to the hairpin now. Vizeli on his way to sending it up the inside. Does get his tire in for just a moment as he does get past on this exit. Outside line for Zahali might just make it work here on the downhill. The inside for Vizeli, the number 19 Porsche, just stays ahead for a slight moment. That's the BMW off the track onto the runoff. And that is position conceded, and Tarle really close behind that as well, as Gospodinov also on his way through, and didn't just get that. Drop down another place, and Zahali holding on to 9th place. We do see Goswell getting a 10-second time penalty, and Lydia, I must ask you, do you know what incident Goswell was involved in that he got that 10-second time penalty from?
Yes, it was for a contact position gain. Good to say, car 8 did not brake in time and counted for the cars ahead and made contact with the side of car 78, pushing them and taking the position. So I presume that was a couple laps ago. The stewards obviously working quite hard to try and catch up with all that one instance, of course. So that was why Harry has got a 10-second time penalty.
And I think I can catch the replay here for just a moment as well. That was on the lap 1 incident. We see Goswell here in the number 8 car just banging out Hanak, and that's the 78 car that you were talking about, banging it out, pushing Hanak off the track, and gaining that place in a not so kosher way, I would say. So Goswell getting that 10-second time penalty will be added on his time in the pits the next time he stops. So he will get a 40-second pit stop compared to the 30 seconds that everyone else will be getting. Granted, they don't get any penalties like Harry did. So he is on his way to charge for the lead, which is needed, I'd say. If you go over the rules, you're getting a penalty, and now he needs to make up for it by just improving his driving, and he's looking to chase down the lead to get the position and pull away as fast as he can. But Lizama is not an opponent that's going to give it away that easily. He's going to have to really push for it. If you do see Tarla just dropping down a few positions, going to quickly look at what the moment is there. Currently look at the 42 car, the Aston Martin, into the hairpin, going a little bit too deep, touching a bit of grass as well, trying to make his way back onto the track, and losing down in 2 positions. The 42 car dropped back from 8th down to 10th.
Yeah, it is quite interesting actually. Harry has closed the gap then to Zama in P1. So obviously Harry might have the better pace in the Aston in the wet. Maybe Aston's a little probably more stable than the Porsche in the wet. Harry trying to make most of that, but like we said, he has got a 10-second time penalty, and he will have to serve that in the pit stop. So it is interesting to see how he will react to this, and if there's any strategic planning he can do to try and minimize the effect of that 10 second.
I think the most that he can do is put more effort into trying to find whatever the best lap is to pit on. Because if you get undercut on this track with these changing conditions, I don't think it's very easy to get back onto it. I think Harry really has to make his way and fight for that, for those positions, using that consistency that we've seen from him in that qualifying. As Sjogren is fancying himself a little run on the inside, which doesn't end up working. Backs out a little bit on the long right-hander. Does get the outside line here though into the next corner, which we've seen work once or twice before. But the 42 car still staying ahead for now. As we're looking at some more smaller gaps further down the grid. Party is on his way down to P18. Raheem overtook him right there. The number 25 Aston just slightly ahead of Party in the 71 Ford, dropping down 1 position, and is now in 18th place, 2 places down from where he started. And Raheem on an absolute charge, started in 27th, so is now 10 places up from where he started. Apologies for that little squeak there. Hope you my microphone is sometimes doing a little likes to act up a little bit, so he is doing his own thing, so apologies for that one. Harry now Goswell into 2nd place, and like you said, closing down that gap is really showing the pace. And speaking of pace, the fastest lap currently in hands of the number 19 Porsche Vizeli with a 147.6 just gets taken away by Lizama, and then Goswell again 147.2. But that does go to show that there are drivers that didn't perform too well in the qualifying session and are now performing really, really well in the race, as we see the 111 car drop back, and that is due to some contact, I think, into those final few corners. We do see the 111 car there on the front braking a bit because of the car out in front, and the 118 car, that is Sjogren in the BMW, just taking a little hit, or giving him a little hit in that final turn. Maybe not expecting the break there, as Raheem is right up to the rear of Nikanen in the 909 car. Started out in 6th place and dropped down 10 places. So these are the guys that like lost 10 and gained 10, 16th and 17th. And Raheem on a charge, like I said, and on his way through. As you do see the 57 car down in 28th position and gaining a penalty for it, as Raheem is now past the 909 car on that straight line. And that's a great overtake, I should say, up to 16th place. And Nikanen instantly under pressure from Party. We've seen the number 18, or the position 18, number 71 car make another overtake before, and he's going to do it again, trying to go around the outside once more, but doesn't get it in the end. Ferrari just a bit too fast on that exit. I'll have to ask again, Lily, the number 57 car, you've got an update on for me on that one?
Yeah, so it's another minor contact position gain. Pit 7 let off the throttle going into the corner and bumped to the rear of the car 30 and taking the position. So it looks like a lot of bumping, obviously maybe due to the wet conditions. These drivers are quite struggling with the braking zones.
Yeah, like we saw on lap 1 as well, we saw a car go absolutely crazy deep. That was, I think that was Zuhaili in the number 12 BMW going absolutely crazy deep into the first turn, which doesn't really help your chances in the race. That's going to be a difficult one to recover from as well. So yeah, maybe not just looking at the braking points a little bit wrong. It's Dusi Uzebi going a little bit deep as well, and Hanak on his way to chase down the guys in front. Small gap between P2 and P3, and also between P3 and P4. Stovko is trying to chase down out in front as well. Last lap, a PB for him, 47.737. Goswell has closed the gap a tiny bit more, currently within just within 2/10 of Lezama. He's going to be looking to make the overtake happening as we're going to see dry skies, clear skies, or at least cloudy without any rain within the next 10 minutes. That's going to be it's going to be a fun one to see as well, how quickly these the track will dry up and how much of a change we'll see within the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I did notice actually quite a bit that in the last 10 minutes roughly, you can start to see obviously the personal bests keep appearing and the lap times keep dropping. So you could definitely tell it was getting dry and dry, and now is the time where the light rain is starting to come into effect, and very soon burn dry.
Begs the question though, if we're going to see 30 minutes as Goswell is trying to make a descent on the inside, does get it ahead momentarily as Lezama's got no way to respond, and Goswell with the change for the lead gets P1. Hopefully doesn't forget that he still has that 10-second time penalty to serve, and with that overtake he gets the advantage of the 194 Porsche going on to the start-finish straight and leads the race for the first time today. So Goswell up to P1 and Lezama concedes the lead, and Goswell's task now run away for as much as he can, trying to pull the gap away to negate that penalty. But as I was saying, in about 30 minutes we're going to see a dry track, which means we have about an hour and 17 or an hour 15, maybe an hour and 20 remaining for the next for the next tire, if everyone pits in about 30 minutes. Which I don't know if there's a maximum stint timer for these drivers. Is there, Lily?
I'm not particularly sure. I don't think so. So I think these guys will just drive to their heart's content.
Because that does change things up, because Goswell are pulling away quite hard, as he should. If there's no maximum stint timer, these drivers can bolt on a set of softs, absolutely blast the tank full, and go towards the end, go all the way to the end of the race on just that one pit stop that they make after changing from these wets to the dries. And of course, there is going to be more at play than just those two stints. There's going to be weather randomness left, right, and center, like we saw just now as well with that rain. That's going to be clearing up in just a few moments' time. Track conditions already changed to damp with these temperatures. It's definitely going to be evaporating quite quickly. You see the dry line form a little bit better already. But yeah, we might see some one-stoppers coming in. I thought it was going to be a two-stopper for sure when I saw the rain. The race was originally a one-stop, but this does look like there's some chances of a two-stopper for sure. But now with the one-stop being available, looking at the timing, they might want to stretch this on the wet tires as much as they can.
Yeah, definitely. You can actually see Harry trying to extend that gap he has in P1 at the moment to second. He's obviously a lot quicker in the wet, but obviously, time that dry comes around, we'll have to see if that Porsche gets any quicker. Obviously, like I said, 10 minutes, and the rain is gonna officially stop, and then we'll have to wait for a dry track. But it could get quite interesting. I believe that's Usby. It's just made a pass actually.
Yeah, that's Usby on Fazeli in 6th place. As the number 29 car up a position, number 19 car dropped down to 7th place. As Hanak is also on his way to start chasing down ahead, and Cryotheos is going to be under pressure from the 78 McLaren in just a few moments' time as well. Lap times are in favor of the 6:15 car, just for now. 4:10s on the previous lap, but then again, it's still quite close, and within the second you still get quite a little bit of slipstream, a little bit of tow, as Uzebi is going to be trying to join that fight, as Fazeli might just wants to stick behind to follow the 29 car through and get with this battle, so they can all duke it out together at the 4-car fight here.
Yeah, I do hope it does get quite interesting. Like you said, it is for P4 here, so in great position. We know Hanak then got set back at the start of this race, and that's why Harry's got a 10-second time penalty, and he's looking to make a recovery, and he's currently chasing after P4 like we said. And actually I think Usby's actually dropped off a little bit from Hanak, so we almost got 2x2, but very shortly could be back together for a 4-car fight.
And looking at the previous lap time as well, Stofko currently crossing that line, or at least Goswell crossing that line, putting in the fastest lap at 1:46.862. About 6/10 quicker than Lizama. Looking at Stofko, don't think, from looking right, it does look like the number 133 in the 6:15 cars did identical lap times on the previous lap. I was going to say Stofko is not really pulling away. It looks like Cryotheos is chasing down, but with these identical lap times, it doesn't appear to be the case. So, yeah, that's exactly the gap held for the 6:15 car. Hanak on his way to chase that one down, though, as it's looking to be maybe a fight for the podium soon.
Yeah, definitely. Also, we know Cryo has a teammate as well. I think there's only 4 teams here today. Everyone else is doing it solo. So we'll have to see if any teammates can come into play with weather changes or just potentially tiredness. So I'll have to see.
Yeah, lots of drivers, of course, being the solo team, really having to show up that case, as Gospodinov is on his way to send it on the inside of Board, and he does so. Board going a little bit too wide. He's under pressure now from Pryor, as the number 11 Aston slots him behind. It's a 3-way battle now for 12th place. A little small train in the middle of the pack now, trying to follow their way through in the Porsche, staying ahead, a little bit wide from Pryor, and tries to slot in right behind as well, as we do see Rahim getting another place up to 15th, down from 27th. So he is, like I said, on a charge. Absolutely amazing job done there, as we do see Board going wide into the hairpin and losing the place to Pryor, and Rahim might just snack away one more on the exit of the next corner.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, quite unfortunate for Board then to go off the track. But Pryor still behind then, trying to look for a move potentially on the Porsche. But we'll have to see how that goes. But still, the closest battle then is probably Hanak and Usby, as they know each other quite well in ACM, and they know how each other race. It's just a battle of trying to get past in these tricky conditions at Kayalmi.
And these two are not the only ones in the fight. Vasily has dropped back a little bit to the number 19 Porsche in 7th place. Has a 1.5 second gap ahead, but Hanak is on his way to chase down Cryotheos for that 4th place. It's now a 3-car chain that wants to maybe push up forward and catch the guys ahead. Previously on the lap, Stofko has gained a little bit of time compared to Cryotheos, and Goswell as well, a 1:46.707, half a second quicker than Lizama in 2nd place. So he's really solidifying that lead as he needs to, as with that 10-second penalty, he can't afford to do anything but his best And yeah, pulling away quite well. 2.5 seconds is the gap.
Yeah, it is looking quite close. And to be honest, obviously only 20 minutes has gone by, and we've already starting to see the conditions change and how close these battles are starting to get. So I have to really keep an eye on this one, because I expect this one to be quite a good one, as it will hopefully extend into the dry, as the rain has stopped now.
Yeah, just as you said that, I was gonna note that the rain has just stopped. It is now on its way to be a dry track, currently damp. With these conditions, I don't think that they can extend it as far as to make it a one-stop. But maybe some of these drivers have anticipated this, the stop of the rain, because you did see that. You were able to see that at the start of the race as Raheem just casually takes away another place of board. And like I said, Bort going a little bit too deep with that fight with Gospodinov and Pryor, as Bort now on his way to get attacked by the 762 car as well. Does slot in the middle there and keeps the position. Varodinov needs to try once again. Yeah, like I said, they could have seen the dryness coming. Some of these drivers might have loaded up a little bit lower of tire pressures. Raheem is the first driver to budge under the change of the conditions, and he's going to go into the pits. And we do see a couple of drivers join him in the pit lane. And I'm curious though, are all of these drivers going into the dry compound? Because it's way too early to go onto the dry tire, and they might feel that one in a lap time when they get out of the pits.
Yeah, how many are coming into the pit lane? It's we're looking at P20 and downwards, like 10 plus cars potentially. It's just they just seem to be filing into the pit lane. But like you said, it's way too early. I mean, these guys are gonna probably wait for the amount of cars on track, probably maybe 3 or 4 laps before it starts to get considerably drier for the dry tire. So interesting strategy by 10 plus cars here. So we'll have to see how they get on.
Yeah, definitely. And we do see like Raheem, one of those faster drivers, all going into the box. And kind of curious now to see Raheem has gone again. And looking at those tires, those are the dry tires on a damp track. This is going to be absolutely crazy to drive on. We have to take a look at these lap times. So the number 25 car is going to be changing his tires as Goswell is in as well. Lezama is right behind him. So they're all expecting the conditions to improve so much over the next few laps, over the next few minutes, that they've just gone on in and got bolted on the dry tires. So it's definitely going to be a 2-stop for everyone who's stopping now. So as I was just saying, I thought it was going to be a 1-stop. Drivers putting in lower pressures to brace themselves for the higher temperatures that the tires will be getting as soon as it dries up, and maybe stretch those wets a little bit longer in return of the degrading lap times, because you lose about 50 seconds at least in this pit lane. So if you lose a second a lap or 2 seconds a lap compared to the other tire, then you're gonna be in good works towards the end of that one stopper. So seeing everyone go in is quite strange to me, as we only have a handful of drivers out that haven't stopped, and that's currently the top 3. And way further down, some drivers are filtering in now as well, with Vesely, Zuhaili, and Nikanen not having stopped low, neither currently in 5th place. And we do see as well Karedu and Parrot also not having stopped, and everyone else is either in the box or has stopped. So that's an interesting development, I should say, in this race. Stovko has stopped now and is behind low. So that is the first 23 minutes already a pit stop advantage for Stovko compared to some of these drivers.
Obviously, Harry dropping down to P8 then after he did serve his 10-second penalty. Comes out ahead of Yuzmin behind Krathis as well. So not really ideally what Harry wanted, but obviously has to serve the penalty. And he does serve the penalty. And like I said then, Lizama will be our net race leader by quite a way.
As you say that, the Vesely and Zuhaili are going into the pits as well, as Nikanen is a little bit further behind, and he hasn't stopped. So that's a big gap, of course, with Nikanen, the 909 car, being a little bit further down. Might want to visit the pits for himself, as the track condition has just changed to greasy. Like I said, those 2-3 laps, we only needed one more for the track to be greasy. Nikanen tries to maybe extend this, maybe try the way of the extension. This is Lowe is now dropping down the order. Of course, a driver that hasn't stopped yet compared to everyone who has. As we do see one of the BMWs in their way there. That's Jack Spencer, number 3 Ford. I thought it was BMW. Front engine cars, they're all the same. So highly in the pits as well. Nikanen, the only driver now out in front to take up that challenge of extending it. Low as well now. And Barrett and Karedu obviously through as well and not into the box. So a few drivers just fancying themselves a little change of strategy. And Goswell now into 5th place. Going to be looking to pass Low as well. Now get up to the front runners. And to Lazema, he's only got 7 seconds, which, you know, the net 10-second penalty, take away 3 seconds from that gap. That's down to about 7 seconds. That's the gap that he needs to make in order to get the lead back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was obviously a great stint for Harry, but come the end of the stint then, before the pit stop, I did notice actually the 194 Porsche was gaining a little bit. The gap was around 2.2 seconds. It dropped to around 1.7. So the dry conditions do seem more suitable for the Porsche, as probably most expected. But to see if Harry can find the pace in the dry conditions.
Yeah, especially in the wet, he has shown quite a bit of skill, quite a bit of pace, as well in the dry qualifying. Not raw pace, but very good consistency. And that's something that he's going to be looking to showcase here as well. Just trying to close the gap out in front, but Lezama is maybe on his way to set a better lap time even. Out laps, of course, not being too great. Nikanen, currently the net leader of the race. Is he going to go into the box? No, he's not. He's still extending. And the 909 Ferrari might just try something else. Maybe on the radio with the other ACM teams and saying, you know what, you guys do what you do. I'm sticking here with this tire and I'm going to make it work. As Lezama is currently finishing his first timed lap and only 4/10ths quicker than the 909 car. Stovko almost a second quicker than the current leader of the race. So they are losing about a second per lap now currently, which is only going to be more and more as time goes on. But maybe extending it will work, and Nikanen will find out soon enough.
Yeah, definitely. So these guys actually got to try and pass each other as well. Actually, I noticed Harry's lap time, 44.9 compared to the 194 Porsches of 46.4. So that's almost half a second difference in lap time. And obviously Harry's got cars ahead of him. So Harry's got traffic as well. So maybe Harry does have the pace in his drive, but he's got to get past his cars.
And it's not only traffic, he's got to fight for positions as well. As Cryotheos has stopped. And the only driver that hasn't stopped ahead of Goswell is Nikanen. So everyone that he has to pass is technically one of the faster drivers, as they are net in the position ahead of him. So Goswell now looking to gain an overtake on that 615 McLaren. Just trying to send it on through, as we do see the number 24 car down in 22nd place. Having a stop go 30 penalty. That's undoubtedly something in the pit lane, unless it's something else.
I think it was a penalty pit lane. I think live streaming is on pause at the moment, as my replay is bugged. And there's no other stewards on hand by the looks of it. So live streaming will be bugged, and I would imagine most of this will be picked up later. If not, it has to be post, unfortunately. But Niken staying out one more time then. Obviously, he thinks the track is still greasy, but 45.9 last time round, and I would imagine these guys in the dry tyres are going to be quicker.
Well, that 45.9 is already improvement on this 46.7 from the lap before, so he is improving. And Lezama, a 145.2, Goswell a 44.9. So again, only a second for Nikanen lost by staying out, and that's going to be a big advantage once he does get on those clean, dry tires for his next stint. And of course, 1 hour 30 remaining in the first quarter of the race, all done. As Cryotheos and Goswell trying to pass these back markers. Well, getting real sketchy there for the number 8 car, trying to go on through, as Parrott overtakes Vizeli on for 6th place, trying to show that, because Zazebi is now side by side going on to that 4th turn, onto the small straight before the next turn. This is the very long right-hander going side by side. Has the inside for that Porsche, and they are going to make it side by side. No rain to help him out this time to go into a different part of the track. And Vizeli pushing Uzebi towards the outside, and it's a position gain, as we do see a big pile up there. That is Garcia sideways for a little bit, and Zaheli as well in the start of this section. I'm unsure if that was a contact or not with the number 12 car. I don't think so. So there might have just been a small incident for Zahili. Gonna quickly check the replay to see if we can catch the rear end of that one on his way towards turn 1 in the replay now. So we're gonna have to find another slot after this one. Just trying to defend from Hanak, the number 78 McLaren on the inside there, trying to make his way through. As he's following on through the number 12 car now. Should have a sight on that incident there. Left-hander off turn 4. He's got a back marker in front. Of course, that is the number 78 car on the inside. There's been some contact and 2 contacts from, I think that was Hanak in the 78 car. Hit 2 cars back to back and spun them both out. And I'm really interested to see what the stewards will think of that one, as Goswell is on his way to overtake the car ahead. That's a small contact as well. Theo's great on the defense, parked it on the middle of the track. Goswell trying to go around the outside, doesn't have the space just yet and has to back out of this one.
Yeah, it was looking quite close. Obviously, all the while Harry's behind. He's going to lose time to obviously the Porsche ahead. And at the moment, the gap's roughly around, well, taking an estimate, around 8 seconds between those two. So all the while Harry's going to lose and he's making mistake after mistake now. And maybe patience is starting to be or starting to wear thin for Harry. He's got to keep it collected and continue on.
And Parrott, we just saw the number 72 car drop down a few places, 2 in total, down to P8, as he's made a small error now, as Vesely is the one to make an error this time around, and dropping all the way back. We're going to see that at the end of the replay, what happened there. He's off the track out of turn, what is that, turn 6, as he's trying to rejoin now, and down to 9th place. And this is just got overtaken by a few drivers. Goswell got really close again, this time around to Theos. Trying to make another overtake attempt and going up to those podium places, because remember, Nikanen hasn't pitted yet and Parrott hasn't either, so that might be a reason why Parrott dropped down a few places with a small mistake. Of course, being on the wrong tire can really mess you up. So Parrott looking to maybe go into the box. Zama just put in the fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.3. Stofko a 1:43.2. Goswell over the line a 1:44.2. So fast lap currently in hands of Stofko, and Parrott goes out for a little bit longer. So the Guyanan and Parrott really trying to make that one stopper work.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to see if it pays off or not. But again, if you're looking at the lap times, obviously being on the wet tire is not helping. But still, with the drying track, the lap times are going to go down anyway. But he's, to be honest, if you look around the pace around the midfield at the moment, he's quicker. So. I know Nike didn't have the best start of all the race. He did qualify well and didn't have a great start. I think he got put back outside of the top 15. So he's trying to make a recovery drive. And at the moment, I think he'll actually be way within that top 15 again. So we'll have to see how they get on for him.
Yeah, if we look at the lap times, Nikonen has a 1:44.280, and Goswell here, a contender for the win just a few moments ago. A 1:44.275, so 5,000 slower than Goswell, currently fighting for P4, and of course he is fighting, so he is losing time. But that just goes to show that lap time, that 1:44.280 on the wrong tire essentially, is really impressive for Nikonen in the 909 car, currently leading the race. So that one stop, like you said, we have to wait and see if it pays off or not. But you know, losing about 50 seconds for an entire stop, he's got quite the margin to make that stop, or at least to get these lap times up a tiny bit. Again, the previous lap only 3/10 slower than Lezama and Stofko, only 4/10 quicker. Same pace currently for Goswell. It's gone over the line just a tiny bit. Fastest lap for Stofko still. So Nikonen still doing a great job and keeping it on the track for the most part. So keeping up the pace. So this one stopper might just work. It's very daring, but it looks like that is a rough battle between Goswell and Cryotheos. Both cars jumping a bit left and right, but essentially Cryotheos staying ahead now, going a little bit too deep into turn 4, and Goswell getting a free place after battling so hard. It's up to 4th, and he can start setting the chase as the gap has increased to Lezama about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I know Harry made a little bit of contact to the rear there. Unfortunately, I don't think it affected the McLaren going deep, but a little bit of contact, man. It's a little bit rough, like you said. So we'll have to see. But I see Harry now 5.5 seconds of clean air. So have to see what he can do with it. We know, obviously, last time around was a 42.9, but it was invalidated. But again, that's some of the quickest pace in this top 5 at the moment. So see if he can start to make a recovery. But I know Hanak then is actually on the back of Perret.
And Barrett on that wrong tire, of course, being an easy target for Hanak. And like we said, the wrong tire isn't really doing that much wrong here. A 144.1 for Parrot and a 142.4 for Hanak. Currently fastest guy on track. And let's see how long Parrot can stay behind in these through these corners. But that wet tire really, you know, just showing some promise here in the middle part of this race. Of course, the first quarter has been settled, 35 minutes in, and Nikkonen is on his way to do a very impressive feat. Like you said, Goswell previous lap 143.6. That was with that battle. Sofko 142.8, and Hanak with that overtake now, crossing the line a 43.4. So that's and Nikkonen a 43.9. So he's just getting chased down by Lizama just a tiny bit, but nothing too fancy. He's still leading the race and doing quite a good job on that.
Yeah, obviously, the longer he stays out though on that wet tire and the drier the conditions get, or as the air temperature starts to rise, obviously, is going to get lower because obviously going towards the evening. Yeah, I mean, the longer he stays out on it, the tire's going to get hotter and hotter, and he's going to have to find all the dampest parts of the track, which isn't, I don't think, any at the moment. I think all the water remaining on track has gone. So basically his tyres now, PSI is going to be shooting through the roof, his temperatures are going to be crying, but he's doing a great job at managing all of that, and he's got to be careful though, because if he makes a small mistake that requires him to use the tyres more than he has to, that tyre will shred itself to pieces.
And the biggest difference in this one is not the fact that, you know, the tyres that the wet runners are currently on, so Nikkonen and Parrot are just happy to ruin these tires as much as they can in order to gain a little bit more lap time out of a little bit more time out of the car. But the big thing is that they'll be having a stop and then getting out of the lane with clean tires into an optimum track. Everyone else has stopped when the track was still damp or greasy. So with a little bit of water on the track being very difficult to manage the tires in those conditions, maybe sliding a bit more, maybe damaging the tires a bit more. So they'll be having a little bit of problems towards the end of their stint. Of course, that will be a second stop for everyone but the 909 car and the 72 car. These two Ferraris really making that bet work. And yeah, so like I said, going on those clean tires on an optimum track is really going to help their pace and help their tires survive to the end. Because that's what they need ultimately. They're going to have about 10 minutes more, so 5 laps more to stay out. And with the pace currently, a 43.5 for Nikkonen and 42.3 for Lizama, he might just keep him behind. Nikkonen might just try and keep the Porsche behind, trying to fight for that position, because it is for position. He is allowed to defend. And this 909 car really shaping things up here, as we do see Lizama on his way to pass one of those back markers, passing one of those Porsches, and trying to chase down the lead and trying to grab it back again.
Yeah, like you say, if Ninekin does decide to hold the Porsche behind for as long as he can, it does bring the top 5, potentially top, well, to be fair, top 8 really in terms of gaps. Really close together, and if they bunch up and make a massive train, not only could it help Ninekin after he makes his pit stop, but we could see some great battling even for P1 if he does hold up the Porsche behind.
I don't think it's going to be much of a battle for P1 if we're looking at the stats here. If Nikkinen pits, goes for a one stop, he essentially has a 50-second advantage over everyone else that hasn't done that stop. He does struggle with his tire a tiny bit though. But if you keep Lizama behind, that's going to be advantageous for Goswell as well. He's just put in the fastest lap time. The first one's going to the 41s of the race, at 141.942. That's just under a second quicker. So Nikkinen is still within a second of the pace of everyone behind him on the dry tire. So that's a very interesting one to see. So he's doing a great job at keeping it here. So yeah, looking at the tire though, I do see something on that tire wall. So isn't he just on the dry tires? Because he hasn't stopped yet.
I believe, yeah, I'm also saying something on the drive, but I don't remember it unless, for some random reason, he started the race on this tire, and that might explain why he had such a hard start potentially, but I don't remember. I swear he was on the wet.
I felt so too, but looking at Parrot, he's got the exact same thing going on. So, did these two start on the dries? Did they do the opposite of what I thought they would do? And just be on the dries, and that's why these times are so good. That's the only explanation I can have, because the wet tires should be absolutely decimated right now. And, you know, the pace difference between Ikonen and Parrot and the rest of the grid, of course, can be clarified with the fact that they're older tires and they've been ruined in the wet stint, the wet first 20 minutes or so. And then this just being a dry tire on a dry track, but just worn out, that makes so much more sense. So I didn't realize to check. I thought everyone started on the wets with this start, but Ikonen really showing the big brain move there, Parrot as well, to start on those dry tires then. I can't believe it took me 40 minutes to catch on to that. Really, it really isn't my fastest day, to be sure. But the 909 car really showing, and the 72 car as well, that they can do a one-stop as predicted. First, I thought it was going to be wet to dries, but it's going to be dry to dries with the mixed condition race for these two drivers. And it's going to be interesting to see what the weather will play, of course, because this is the optimum strategy if we're looking at a dry race for the rest of the race. But if the clouds start setting in, because they are still there, and if the rain starts setting in, then they're going to be in a world of trouble. But still, one pit stop up on the rest of the grid are the 909 and the 72 cars.
Yeah, we know Ninekin actually wasn't that slow in qualifying. He qualified really well. I think, if I'm correct, I think it was way within the top 10. So he'll be looking to try and hold on for now. I mean, he's doing a great job doing so. I mean, like I said, that's to be fair, I didn't catch on to it either, but incredible fact. But you can see the Porsche's trying to get past as quickly as possible, and you can see the cars filing in behind. Obviously, some being back markers and some not, but Ninekin really trying to defend. He hugs the middle of the track as the Porsche has to snap away from that, but the Porsche does get the switchback and goes all the way around the outside, cuts to the inside, and Ninekin, I believe, just let the Porsche through there.
Yeah, no sense in battling and killing the tires even more. It's going to be on the edge as well, because he wants to make these tires last as long as possible. And if they're already damaged, I don't think they can go over too far over the hour. So he wants to carry these tires as long as possible. Keeping Lizama behind is important for his race to go for the lead. But remember, everyone has to stop still. Otherwise, in terms of fuel, they just won't make it. And if everyone needs to stop, I do think Nikkinen can get the advantage. He started in 6th place, like I said, well within the top 10. Gone up to 1st to lead the race for a few moments. And Parrot actually started in P11, so up 3 places as well. Is going to be charged down by Vesely in the number 19 Porsche though. But Nikkinen doing a great job currently, starting in 6th, holds 2nd place. He's going to have the advantage once he pits. Everyone else is going to be pitting later, of course. So yeah, in terms of tire, Nikkinen has the advantage in the next stop. But in terms of weather predictability, or unpredictability I should say, everyone who has stopped is currently on the advantage, because they can go on a little bit longer. And let's say the tires of the fuel for Nikkinen last for about 20 more minutes, and we're going to see rain in just over 30. That means that Nikkinen still has to do that extra stop that everyone else has already done, and he's just losing time at this point. So strategy-wise, this is a very interesting one. I'm very curious to see how this is all going to unfold. But Nikkinen currently holding on quite well to Lizama, currently only a 2nd behind on the previous lap. So
yeah, he's done a great job, even being on those dry tires. Also, like I said, in the wet conditions, they would absolutely probably killed those dry tires. But still, he's doing a great job at the moment. So let's obviously see how he gets on with that. But I was actually looking further down the grid to see Vesely then on the back of our other wet tire, well, a dry tire in the wet conditions runner.
Yeah, so Parrot also with the alternative strategy. The number 19 Porsche Vesely on his way to catch him out. Pace difference, again, about a 2nd is what it is now between the old and the new tires. I say new, but they're quite old already, almost half an hour old. That's quite some age on these tires already. Vesely now with that cleaner tire right behind Parrot, who's going to be wearing out his tires in just a few laps time. Dives to the inside, trying to maybe put up a defense, but gets past and breaks a bit earlier now to let the Porsche pass, and Vesely up to 8th place.
Yeah, that is, well, fairly nice move. Obviously, it was kind of expected with Parrot being on the alternative strategy. Looking down the grid then, Kelly catching Rahim in the 25 Aston Martin. And they'll be looking for a pass as well. As we actually see just ahead of them as well is Board trying to make a pass on the other Aston Martin, the 762, as well. So plenty of battles then up and down the grid already within 45 minutes of the race.
The 911 car getting real close to Rahim, who started in P27. We saw made an amazing jump, currently 12 places up from where he started, and a little bit of a longer pit stop compared to the rest, which might have dropped him down a tiny bit, but doing a great job so far. Kelly trying to eye it up on the inside just for a moment, but the Aston holding on to the racing line and going through that turn. Doing a great job there, Board. Like you said, a little bit further up ahead. Rahim getting a bit squirrely on the exit, a bit wide, trying to avoid the curb here on the inside in turn 3. And takes turn 4 a tiny bit too deep, which opens up the inside, which is going to be the outside for the next turn. Kelly with the Ferrari on his way through. A little bit of grass touch from Rahim. Has got the inside line for the next turn. And might want to push Kelly a little bit wider. A little bit of grass touch as well on the inside. That's how you can see how far he's pushing it. But Kelly's still holding on. And it's got the inside for the next turn. And the next 2 turns, I should say. And as Rahim dropped all the way back. Mass right behind that Ferrari as well. The 333 car. He's going to be looking to join that battle, and there's one car in the middle of all of this, and that's Martinez in the 979 Ford, currently holding down P29. So he's a back marker, should let Mass go at least to have a go at this battle. Does appear to be going out of the way for just a tiny moment, but we'll slot in. And Skelly's trying to run away, and I think Martinez thinking that he's got the pace, trying to maybe stick with these guys, doesn't want to let this all go. Trying to go side by side with Rahim through the left-hander. Pushing Rahim a tiny bit too wide onto the grass over the limits, and that's going to hurt his lap time. He's not going to be happy with this back marker for sure. A tiny bit of banging as well, as we do see Mass just trying to speed on through. He's got the inside for the death corner, and he does get on through. So that's a back marker interfering with the race. Rahim a bit wide. That's Mass also wide. Contact between the two. Mass into the wall. Rahim sending it on through, and there we have Mass backwards on the side of the track. Oliver Yundas going through. Velisansky going through. And Mass down to 19th place. Got Lee right behind him as well, is trying to make a pass, and that is the lead of the race. That's Lizama on his way through as well.
Yeah, it's not really ideal what you wanted with a blue flag interfering with a battle like that. But obviously, unfortunately, we'll have to see what the shoulds think of that one. Obviously, Mark then getting a little bit unsteady on the death curb, and unfortunately spinning and unfortunately making contact as well with Rahim. It's not really what they all have wanted, but like you said, rain in 30 minutes, light rain. We'll have to see if Harry can pull out the rain pace once again and just storm by.
And this is the danger zone, like I talked about before. This is where Nikkonen and Parrot was it that start on this dry tire. They're at a disadvantage. They still have to make that stop. So by gambling on the dry tire early on, they said, you know what, it's going to get dry within 20 minutes. We're going to stick on the dry tire, just handle it in the wet, and trying to see how far we can go with this tire. And they're going to be looking to stop within 20 minutes, which means that they have to go either on the dry tire and stop again, or go on the wet and absolutely ruin the tire for the rest of the race. Well, everyone else has to stop for that wet tire anyway, so everyone has to stop still. But it's just a question of what tire are these two going on. And the 194 car and the 909 car and the 72 car are really going to be gambling and really going to be scratching their heads as to what the strategy for this one is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm also scratching my head thinking what the strategy is going to be, because it's going to turn out to be quite a good race. As we know, Nineken's actually in a good position at the moment. It's like you said, what tire will he go to? Same with Parrot as well. We're currently in P9, so both in the top 10. Obviously looking to try and make as many positions as they can from where they started. But obviously it depends on the tyre they choose. But I actually noticed as well, there's a fair few battles going on down the grid all of a sudden.
Yeah, look at that fight for P16. That's Rahim, who was involved with that incident before with Mass. And the backmarker Martinez a little bit further down as well. Now a three-way battle. Velisansky has caught him up, and Yundas has also caught as Nikkonen drops down behind Stovko, who's gone all the way through. Fastest lap holder up to second place, and Nikon are dropping back down the order, jumping back to that fight for P16. Yundas in 18th place currently, trying to get a place done. But that's not very easy when Velizanski also has that slipstream from Raheem ahead, who's a formidable driver, starting in like I said, P27, making a great jump up the grid to claim some positions and catch up with the front runners, as he's gonna have to go defensive. Velizanski on the inside, or on the outside rather. Raheem braking very well, a little bit deep on the exit there, but does keep the car ahead, and this three-way battle is going to continue all the way down to the start-finish line.
Yeah, it is going to be extremely interesting to see what happens between them two. And there's actually a team making a pass on the 888 car. A lot of damage for that Audi actually. So let's see how they manage that then. Another pass
Raheem,
then.
Going a little bit wide there in some of the final corners there, and Velizanski touching a bit of grass there as well. And Yundas is the next car to take a shot at Raheem, who's been doing such a good job at starting the race, of course, and also keeping on to that place. But unfortunately, that Ford car is that engine is something to be feared, as he's looking to maybe have a look somewhere on this lap. A little bit of a tiny look on the inside there, tiny scare. Raheem going very deep into the turn, and Yundas all the way through now, completely past Raheem down to 18th, and suddenly it doesn't look like he's got that pace anymore. He's just dropping back down the order.
Yeah, maybe not really what he wanted since that little crash he had not long ago. As well, Hanak actually catching Usby. Oh, it was within a second, but it's hovering just outside of him. But Usby's got blue flags to get through as well, so all the while this could allow Hanak to close up and make the pass.
Like you said, as you said, the gap increasing. We just saw it decrease again. He's just looking at the rear of that Ferrari. The number 29 car is Zebi currently ahead, going into the long right-hander of turn 5, and Hanak on his way to maybe try something here, as he is just within a few tenths. Just looking on the inside, there he goes, a little bit too deep into the braking, but he does make it work, stays ahead, and Zebi getting overtaken there on into turn 6. That's a place where you don't really see it that often in the drive. We saw it in the wet, but no one in the dry so far getting that one done as beautifully as this. And Hanak up to 6th place again, as he tries to recover back into the podium spots where he started. Started on the front row, of course, and now wants to jump back up the order.
Yeah, definitely as well. Board also within 7 tenths off the Aston ahead as well. And I believe that's another pass for the 888 car. Again, they seem to be battling quite a bit with her team at the moment. As obviously her team in that 69 Audi got quite a bit of damage. As actually the McLaren makes a mistake, but these guys obviously just ahead of Hanak and Usby, like I was saying before. So we got 2 battles, but obviously these guys are blue flags. As you can see, another blue flag getting out of the way. Pretty much the Lamborghini stopped in the middle of the track. That is not really ideal whatsoever. But all the while, these guys are in the way of Hanak and Usby, and it could allow Usby to try to get past Hanak. But I have to see what's going to go on here, because obviously the longer this goes on, the more it allows Usby to catch Hanak again.
And you did see a back marker, but I don't think there was a single... oh, there was a back marker involved. That was Lee. But he was fighting with Hatem and Bavaudas, so they were the back markers in this sense. Zebi and Hanak are making their way through. So big fights left, right, and center. They had their own battle here. A 3-way between the 888 car, the 69 car, and the 270 car, or the 260 car, and 78 and 29 as well, being in the middle of all of this. And they're currently right out ahead. Bavaudas currently in the 888 car, still ahead of these 2 front runners, as that is a very deep send there. That's Hatem in the Audi, the 69 car, dropping a little bit too deep on the brakes. It gets overtaken by Lee in the Lamborghini. Had to brake, of course, to avoid action, avoid contact, and Hatem might have a small problem with his car as he goes in too deep once more, cuts the corner quite heavily, and don't think he gained too much time on that one with all the bumps and jumps there. As Jonas now on his way to send it. And Velizanski not in the death corner, not just yet, but he does get into the final turn, as Velizanski is going into the pits. So he has stopped about 30 minutes ago, and this is a stop that he shouldn't be making. This is not one scheduled for the team.
No, not really. So interested to see what the strategy is going to play out there. So we got rain still in 30 minutes. That has changed, because it should have been, well, that should have been relatively soon. But we actually see the 118 car then trying to make a pass on Perret, and I think he has got around the outside. He's going to have to cut to the inside, and he does make the pass then. That's a nice move made there. Also, you got lots of, actually, Hatim also coming in the pit stop as well, so strategies may be changing. I'm not particularly sure why they're in this early, but maybe, like I said, unexpected stops for these teams.
Maybe some damage repairs, maybe some new tires as they feel like their grip is running out, which shouldn't be possible after only half an hour of driving. Might have pushed it way towards the end, but really the cars that we're looking at still is the 99 car of Nikon in third place, and the 72 car of Parrot now in 10th, dropped down by Sjogren, who's gone up to 9th place. So the 118 car getting the overtake done. And yeah, of course, Parrot and Nikon, they're going to be the victim of the weather conditions here. They're going to have to blame the rain man for this one. They're not going to be very happy to see the rain in 30 with their stint timer running out, or at least their lap running out, their fuel running out within about 15 minutes. So yeah, it's maybe they can stretch it. Maybe it's going to be very tight, but maybe as Hanak now gets overtaken back by Ozebi, still going almost side by side through the downhill on their way to the final sector, but Ozebi stays ahead. Hanak tries to switch it back on the inside line, but Ozebi just a little bit too far and reclaims P6 of the 78 car.
Yeah, obviously a lot of battling to be had then. Obviously we head towards the midway mark of this race. We know that McLaren's good in the corners, we know that Ferrari's also good in the corners, but it's the battle of who wins in a straight line in this case, and I believe it will be the McLaren.
It's definitely a very tight battle. Hanak now trying to go for a retake opportunity down into the first turn. Ozebi trying to pass a back marker, and does so very cleanly. Back marker gets out of the way very nicely, as Goswell hasn't been doing that great compared to Lizama. The gap was about 10 seconds the last time we checked in with them, as Goswell is currently 11.5 seconds behind, so he's dropped a second, just over a second behind the leader now. Trying to make his way back towards the lead. Of course, lost that 10 seconds from that penalty that he got. And Raheem now falling victim to another driver, as Mas is charging his way through. Currently in P18, started in P22. Trying to make another place up. And Raheem, like a sitting duck, just getting overtaken left, right, and center. Might just jump out of the way there, as you see the yellow flag being thrown out for the number 24 car. Corredo currently in 30th place, being momentarily stationary in that first sector, as he has going again. We can focus our sights back on Hanak once more.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, they still got blue flags to get through. Obviously, Hanak will try to make most of that blue flag to try and get past Usbi. Again, actually, Hanak pulls to the left-hand side then. Usually makes a little bit later and almost into the back of that blue flag driver. As the blue flag driver makes a massive mistake and almost crashes into Usbi. Usbi has to take avoiding action, and that blue flag driver comes out just ahead of Hanak, but Hanak gets past very quick. That was almost quite scary.
And we do see Nikon now going into the pits, maybe at the end of his fuel. That's within the hour. That's not where he wants to be. He's stationary. And we're going to see what Parrot does as well. Maybe he's also out of fuel, but I can't imagine that being the case, as the wet start made them save a bit of fuel. Parrot also going in. So both of these drivers going in. So that's curious to see that these timings are lining up very, very closely. So Parrot and Nikon are now into the pits with no apparent reason from the looks of it so far. So yeah, we're looking at these guys for just a moment. Going to see where they end up, as I'm gonna quickly turn on the auto cam, as I have to take a short little break. Give the word to Lily, and yeah, let's see if the auto cam actually works. I don't think it does actually. That's a small issue, so that means we're gonna have to look at Hanak for the next 10 minutes, as I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Obviously then, so we are watching Hanak, but I'll keep you updated if anything does happen elsewhere on the track. But at the moment then, Parrot also in the pit lane as well. We do see, actually Hanak is actually one of our customers at the moment. I can see if he tries to make a move on Usby or not, but going down the back straight, I don't think Hanak is close enough just yet, but we'll see if he makes that move anytime soon. Obviously, if anyone's wanting to know, obviously, at ACM, of course, everyone has custom ballast, and that is because of career mode. With career mode, obviously you get to purchase your own cars, rent your own cars even, and create your own teams. And you can obviously find out more obviously at the website. It is acm-racing.com, and you can get yourself signed up there, of course, for more racing action like this. But Hanak then on the back straight. Don't think he's close enough to Yusufi. He's going to look to the inside though. He's just making himself as big as possible in Yusufi's mirrors at the moment, but doesn't make the pass, and Yusufi does stay ahead for P6 then. And let's see if Hanak can try to get past. We know that McLaren might be faster than the Ferrari driver. I have to see how that plays out for them, as Hanak actually was 6/10 quicker than Yusufi last time round. So obviously the McLaren is much quicker in a straight line. Just all around the track. But we do know Yusufi had that little complication with that blue flag driver. But speaking of blue flag drivers, they're actually coming up to a little train, and we'll have to try and navigate this as quickly as possible, really. And we'll have to see how that plays out for them. And, 10 seconds until the midway mark then, and we'll get confirmation by the lovely race engineer. But it's another into the pit lane then. It's the 762 Aston Martin in the pit lane. So there's another driver into the pit lane. Not really, like I was saying to Wops just before, not really ideal. Because obviously rain is coming, and they pit just before the rain. It's not really all too well, but and he's staying behind Yusufi for now. He is quicker, so we'll have to see if he tries to get a pass on for that at the moment. But other than that, there's no other major battles going on other than Jack Spencer, down the owner of SimHaven, currently down in P27 then, chasing after Lowe, the 88 Porsche. He's currently on 9/10 of a second behind, so let's see if he can try and make a pass. But Hanak then, see if he can make a pass on Yusufi. They are closer than they were before. Yusufi goes to defend Hanak to the outside, and I think Yusufi's going to hold on to this one unless Hanak's looking for a switchback. No, I think so. Yusufi does hold on nicely, but Hanak is closing and is pretty much on the bumper of Yusufi then. And you can see Yusufi defending the inside as well, so no chance for Hanak to get through at any time shortly. As I have said before this race, these two know each other quite well, so you know how each other race, the pace they should be setting. So we'll have to see how that plays out for them. As you can see just ahead of them, it's blue flag galore, and these guys are all just racing each other as blue flags. So you can see Yusufi trying to get past one, Hanak gets past one. That's one out of the way, but they've still got two, and these two are going side by side, and these are not even racing. So let's see how that works. Hanak dropped back a little bit from Yusufi. Yusufi makes a massive dive on one of the blue flags, gets past one, and now has a blue flag between him and Hanak, and that's ideally what Yusufi wants. The longer he can prolong Hanak, the better for him. But you can see Hanak's flashing. He wants to get past as quickly as possible, but he can't. And Yusufi's going to try and get past the other, but the Audi was looking for a move on Yusufi, but all the while that has allowed Hanak to get through, and Yusufi getting past on the Mustang, and Hanak now side by side with the Mustang. Mustang doesn't seem like it wants to give up. He does brake early, luckily, and that does allow Hanak then through on these blue flag drivers. But we'll have to see. That means Hanak now has a gap of around 1 second to Yusufi, so he has to catch back. But I do believe we have our commentator back.
Well, yes, hello, I'm back. Just had to take a small little emergency break. So yeah, I am back though, as I think we've seen some good stuff with Hanak now already with the Zabi. A little bit of a fight still within that second, so yeah, what did I miss?
I mean, they got a little bit interesting with the blue flags. I mean, Hanak was trying to get past around the outside, up the inside. He was trying everything. He is currently quicker than Yusufi at the moment, and Yusufi and Hanak were just trying to navigate some blue flags, and that has unfortunately put Hanak down by about a second. So we'll have to see what the pace is like now.
Yeah, and Goswell C already has dropped back just a tiny bit more, another half a second down on Lizama as well, as we do see Naikkonen out of the pits on another set of dries, it appears, and same goes for Parrott most likely. We'll be sporting the dry tires as they have essentially gained a stop in the first little bit, and then you know, just messed that one up in terms of the timing. Both of these drivers lost 4 places compared to their starting position, so the gamble didn't really pay off too well. So the positions that they lost at the start gained back a few of them due to the strategy, but of course not nothing too great. as Gossel in the number 30 Audi currently on his way to overtake Raheem, who's dropped down back to P18. Unsure what's happening with him. He's showed so much promise in the wet, and he might just be happy that it's going to be raining again within the next 30 minutes as Cryotheos is into the pits.
Indeed he is. So that's our 4th place runner. He's now going to drop behind Yusbi and Hanak, and obviously all the cars behind. So again, another early pit stop. So these guys maybe starting to run out of fuel, which is probably the most likely case. But it's not really what you want before the rain comes. But speaking of the rain, it's been saying it's coming in 30 minutes for the past, well, maybe 40 minutes. So I'm not particularly sure what's going on there. Maybe not 40 minutes, exaggerating a little bit. But it has been on that for quite a bit, and I'd imagine it's either going to come, well, hopefully in the next 10 or 15. Otherwise, it's not. Maybe not.
Well,
coming
there it is. You have it in the next 10 minutes now. So, and in 30 minutes, it's going to be light plus, which means it's going to go towards the medium rain. So yeah, right as you called it, it's been there for. Well, according to Kunos, it's been there for 20 minutes. Our weather service is not really that accurate. But yeah, we do have a driver swap though for the 615 car. Maybe it was just on availability of time as Filsinger takes over from Cryotheos in the 615 car. So Filsinger currently inhabiting that 615 McLaren, who has got to go in once more right at the start of the rain spell within the next 10 to 15 minutes, as Bavauda's currently on the back of Raheem as well. It's just dropping back like a rock. Previous lap, a 1:49.592. That's a lot slower than what he's done before. Currently defensive against Bavauda's, but he does get past the number 888. Is quite a little bit up ahead now. So you do see an issue, and that is Yundas backwards on the track, not where you want to be. And there's contact between a few drivers here as he's stationary inside of the track. Going to quickly see in the replay what happened here onto the last bit of the sector. That appears to be Kelly in the 911. Is that not? No, that is Yundas in the number 13 car in the back here, as there does appear to be some sort of weaving and some car being collected, and Yundas, the one being collected, gets stabbed in the rear as well, and that is that might have been Kelly who got hit by Mass or someone else in the area, but Kelly being tapped and Yundas getting collected, now down to 17th place as Hanak also dives into the pit lane. A very curious move from the 78 McLaren to go into the box as well.
He's on dries. Hanak is on dries.
He has been on dries. He just stopped it for dries, huh? Why would he do that? It's 10 minutes to rain. What are the strategists thinking at this point? Have they put on their Ferrari hat? Does Hanak maybe try to cover the undercut, but the undercut isn't really going to work, and there's a little bit of a curb touch by Filsinger as Hanak does cover up the undercut, I think. But there is no undercut if the strategy sucks, frankly saying. If you go into the dries now to gain an advantage on an undercut, you're going to have to pit again in a few laps time. So it's definitely got to be fuel, and all of these drivers thinking the exact same thing in terms of fuel. And the strategy is not panning out. A little bit squirrely there from Hanak. Might have been a small tap on the rear there, but might have just been a small moment from Hanak, as Filsinger is not giving up that easily though. It's really giving it his all, trying to, get this place up into P9. So heading on to the hairpin. Small tap there from Filsinger, and Hanak goes off the track. And he's got to go recover and slot in behind these blue flag guys before Pryor gets here. That's the position for Filsinger. That's not going to be one that Hanak's going to be happy with.
No, definitely not. And actually, just speaking of strategy almost before that unfortunate incident for Hanak, actually. But maybe they're trying to brute force it. Maybe they've seen what Nikon and Perret did, and maybe they're just going to try and just, you can see actually the rain has been updated. It's going to get lighter within 30 minutes after it comes in 10 minutes. So maybe the dry time might work out for these guys. We'll have to see.
Yeah, brute forcing it for about 30 minutes. It's going to be longer than that. The rain will be falling within 10 minutes and then drying up a little bit at the end of the 30-minute mark. But we're still going to have a lot of rain, a lot of water, standing water, most likely on the track, or at least the track is going to be quite wet as soon as the rain starts to decrease. So yeah, Hanak and Filsinger are trying to brute force their way through with those dry tires. It could work, but I'm honestly a bit confused on the choices. So we can see that the 615 and the 78 McLaren's going to see what they do when the rain hits. If they pit again, it is practically race over for them, as that is going to drop them all the way back, having to do that extra stop. And yeah, that's not it's not going to be advantageous, as we do see some drivers in the back also having stopped twice, but most of that is due to some repairs or some other things that they needed to fix. As Bart is now right behind Mass, car that was chasing down the cars. Well, I was going to say ahead, but he was chasing down Raheem a few laps before I left. It was now currently in 22nd place. So Mass doing a great job, currently in 15th. Started in 22nd. Party now looking towards the inside as Mass doesn't go defensive, has to take the long way around, and Party is almost fully ahead. Holding on by a thread is the 333 car on the inside, touching a bit of curb and obviously slowing down to not lose control, and the place goes to Party.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing to talk about as well is why you were gone, actually. Obviously Jack Spencer was closing on low, but unfortunately that gap has now at 4 seconds. It's actually low. It's trying to get past on Velinsky as well. So I have to see how that pans out.
Yeah, so the 88 car, the Porsche right behind the McLaren, but a little bit further up we see another battle. Raheem getting chased down by another car, so he might have some issues. Lap time currently at 148.0. He's going to be dropping down the order, dropping like a rock. He currently has the inside line for the next turn, but I don't think he's going to be doing too much, as Farudinov is on his way to get the overtake done. Switch back through the inside for the next turn and stays ahead. That's the place done and low on the Velozensky, like you said. The 88 Porsche just within a few tenths. It's going to be looking to set in the chase, as Goswell, the one that was chasing, currently 14 seconds behind the lead. So Zama really stepping up the pace. The Sofco currently still holding that fastest lap and being 4 tenths quicker than the leader on that previous lap. Might just look for something of the lead for himself. Obviously starting in 5th place, Ferrari, and with Uzebi in 12th place, Zanaikanen in 6th place actually. So yeah, it might be a good one for those Ferraris that you said that we're going to be dropping back, for Stovko to actually to make a good run for the lead.
Yeah, so we had a great start to this race for that wet weather, allowing a few cars to make slight contact, and he managed to slip his way through and well, basically show us his race pace as well. So we know he pretty much only set one of his last laps to put himself up into the top 5, and he's immediately holding on for podium position. So he's doing a fantastic job at the moment in P2. And actually, speaking of wet weather, 10 minutes time it's going to get light rain, and 30 minutes it's going to be dry again. So it's only going to be a short shower before it disappears again.
Yeah, maybe these dry tires from Hanak and from Filsinger are gonna make something work. And do I see Hanak dropping back quite a lot? I don't think. I might have just not noticed the fact that Hanak went all the way to the back. It's 8 seconds gap now to Filsinger. He did have that one incident, but I don't know if that was 8 seconds worth. So yeah, previous lap 2 seconds slower than Filsinger. So that's 2 more seconds added to his race time. He doesn't want to, because he's still fighting for quite a good position. And like you said, brute forcing through this wet spell is going to be driving it on wet for about 25 to 30 minutes, as Martinez is now going into the pits as well. And are we going to see our first wet stopper of these runs, as we do see a few other cars in the pits as well. But that is probably for a different cause, as of course our number 57 car has done a lot less laps than everyone else. And we do see, wow, it's actually Martinez not being stationary in the right spot, as he's moving back up again. Bavaudas also in the box, dropping down the order now, P22 as it stands, and dropping further and further. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see what the strategy is, and I'm actually looking at the front runners to see what they are going to do, because their stint's running out in about 10 minutes in terms of fuel, or 50 minutes in terms of fuel, and if they are going to go onto the wet compound for that bit, or if they're going to stay out on the dries. It's going to be an interesting one to see. Of course, Stovko starting in 5th place, doing a great job so far. Low getting that free place now from Bavaudas being in the pits. Velizanski on the defense now as Low is trying to make an offense. Doesn't get close enough to do so just yet. Hatem now behind Hose. 69 Audi, real close to a battle as well as the Ford trying to weave out of the way, trying to make the room or get the room to to defend from the Audi. It's all getting really close. Bavaudas out of the pits now in 26th place, and we do see some good fights down the order. Filsinger now with the fastest lap, 141.6. That's about 2/10 quicker than the previous fastest lap, which was in the hands of Stovko, 41.8. Filsinger doing a great job at that, and showing his real pace, showing his true pace now, as he's taken over the car from his teammate. So yeah, Crowfields can rest a little bit now, as the rain has started falling. In the next 10 minutes, it's only going to get worse and worse. There's contact on the straight. That's Hatem and House, both off the track and into the wall, backwards for House and Hatem both. As they try to make their way back onto the track, as some other cars are joining there. I believe that is Hyundai's coming in as well, who's just a lap ahead of these guys. But that's a big contact for the two as they scramble back onto the track. And I'm unsure what happened there. Let me quickly look at the replay, see if there's anything I can show. There was the initial contact in the back straight, small tap, back and forth, not really too much worth mentioning. And then the rain started setting in just at the end of that one, and then we're going to see a big contact here on the straight, and there's a car behind tapping it a little bit, and yeah, Hatem just hitting the rear, and Hose just absolutely demolished on the side of that track. Another car backwards on the track. That's Hatem once again. So Hatem not really happy with these conditions, is dropping back and back and back. Now in 28th place, everyone else is going into the pits. We do see the number 42 car, change of drivers. Tarle has just given the car to Castro Garcia, as it goes back to Tarle again. So that was an interesting moment for my telemetry. But yeah, they have gone into the pits, have stopped, and Low is now chasing down Velizanski as everyone else is going to go into the pits. And here's my question though. Here's where the strategy comes in. Hanak and Filsinger have stopped so far already on those dry tires. Filsinger getting the fastest lap of the race. But if they're going to push through with these tires, we're going to see what happens here. Tarle, of course, on the wet tire, going into that second or the third stint, I should say, trying to get past these back markers. Everyone else still mostly on the dry compound, as lots of these drivers haven't stopped yet. Of course, Hanak and Filsinger have stopped on those dry tires. We're going to see what happens, because there's only less than 30 minutes before they have to stop again for the dries for everyone else who has gone onto those wet tires. Very interesting to see if there's anything strategy-wise that is beneficial from the move from Hanak and from Filsinger. Looking at 3 cars in the pit lane now. Wong just got out of the pit. The number 91 Aston, not really one for repairs, but did go and change the tires onto the wet compound, it seems, as Goswell is currently in the number 8 car, still holding on to third place, 14 seconds behind Lizama. And this is where it comes in clutch, because Lizama is going to be staying out, and Goswell might do the exact same. It's only a short spell of rain. The track conditions are greasy. Board in the 273 car is going to go into the pits, and yeah, so he's going to go and bolt on the wet tire. Spencer as well, number 3 Ford, into the pits too, to get those wet tire compounds on the car. And yeah, Goswell dropping back a little bit from the Zama, same as Stovko. Also not doing a fantastic job, as the lap times are decreasing, and this may be where Hanak and Filsinger are going to be feeling that strategy, because they've just stopped for dry tires. They're going to have to keep those tires towards the end of the race, all the way to the end. Well, everyone ahead of them can just stop again. They've basically equalized themselves with Raikkonen. So yeah, these two McLarens, really strange strategy there. They're gonna have to, or at least if they want to stay with these guys, have to run it all the way to the end of the race on these tires, whereas everyone else can just make a chance, have a shot at stopping again after the rain, and then having the better tires, of course, because running your tires in these conditions isn't going to do too much great.
No, definitely not. So I am back now. It's now raining from when I last think. Is there any major things going on?
Well, there has been a very big contact. We do see Goswell tapping the number 24 car, going sideways. That is that's Karedu and Darren P29. A big contact between the two, and another big contact that we saw was between the 69 car and the 885 car, between House and Hattem on the straight. As soon as it started raining, there was a bit of a contact there, as Lizama is on his way into the pits. And is he going to bolt on those wet tires? And is this going to give Goswell his entry onto the victory?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm just looking at the lap times, but it doesn't seem. Obviously, Harry, like you said, had contact last time round, but maybe not looking as strong as that Porsche. So I have to see how that plays out. I would imagine. Yeah, that Porsche is on wet tyres now as he exits the pit lane, so we'll have to see what's going on.
Very, very close indeed. Like you said, it's going to be wet tyres for Lizama, and that is going to be close with the pits. Goswell might just be happy with this one. Only 14 seconds to soft go, and they all have to box again. The 885 car once more. House part of that incident with Hattem. Now sideways on the track, Hattem right on through, and House might just fancy himself a trip to the pits. He's already on the line, on his way to the pit entry. Scrapes the wall one more time, tries to push the car into the pits, but that is not going to work, as Lowe is still trying to catch up with Velizensky. So Hanak is going back to the pits again. So Hanak from P9 into the box, and losing out on just a little bit more time.
Yeah, it's not really what he wanted. Obviously, he pitted again for the dry tire again. He's now have to off that dry tire and back onto the wet. It's not really what he wanted at all, because Hanak's actually gonna have to do another pit stop again when it turns dry. Actually, maybe not, because the end of this race is meant to dry up. So maybe if the wet continues, actually, and I say that as the conditions change once again, maybe the wet will continue to the end of the race. It's going to be about 8 minutes roughly of non-rain, and that means they're going to have to spend that final 8 minutes drying the track. So maybe wet tyres to the end could be a possibility if these drivers want to push it, but if not, it might be dry tyres.
And as we say that, Goswell has gone into the pits to cover up the pit stop from Lizama in the 194 Porsche, of course, starting at pole position and doing a fantastic job at keeping the lead for a very long time. Does go into the pits on the previous lap. He went in and is now trying to gain a little bit of an advantage on Goswell. So Goswell has gone in, still stationary. The gap was about 15 seconds towards Lizama, and Goswell is now on his way out of the pits, and we'll see how big that gap is. And on the previous lap, I do think that Goswell's just lost a tiny bit of time. It's about 17 seconds now towards Lizama, and 2 cars in between. Sjogren and Nikkonen now in between the previous front 2 runners before the first round of pit stops. Filsinger still out on track, hasn't stopped recently for those wet tires, even though Hanak has. And looking at the difference between Lizama and Goswell in that pit stop, it's about 2 or 3 seconds lost on that singular lap. So I do think that Hanak might have the advantage over Filsinger for this stop, but it might just be a difference in strategy.
Yeah, potentially. We'll have to see what goes on. As Vesely also in the pit lane then. I did see they pulled in behind Harry, but still stationary. So maybe fixing some of that damage as well. We'll have to see how it plays out then. But looking down the grid then, Goswell in currently P16, chasing after Maple in the Porsche. So these guys are still on dries as well. You can see Aston fly across my screen. I don't know if you caught that, but I think that is, yeah, it's the 762 Aston really struggling in these wet conditions. And
Did just catch that. It was a three-way battle with Maplecross and Faradinov, but Faradinov sadly touching the gravel and making that a two-way battle, as it were. Meanwhile, Stofko and Uzebi have gone into the pits, so Stofko is maybe covering off everyone else, is on his way to exit, has stopped. Lizama is through. Stofko on the exit now. Just a little bit ahead of Uzebi, and Sjogren on his way to maybe catch these two, but will be a little bit behind, and Stofko holding on to that second place and will most likely take this all the way to the end. Interesting little thing though is that the track condition did just say wet, and it's now damp, even though the rain hasn't decreased that much from the previous check-in on my end. So it's very strange to see that the conditions are improving. Even though all these drivers are driving on the wet tire, which of course just pulls away a little bit more water from the line. The Stofko with an amazing strategy there, still holding on to second place, as Goswell is now in fourth, who's got Nikinen right behind him, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch.
It is obviously coming out towards the final 30 minutes, so all to play for. And the gaps are still relatively close in terms of things. So. And obviously, like I said, one mistake can really change the entirety course of the race. But as we know, the 118 car then is still on dries, so, and you can see him struggling actually on the exit of that corner. But obviously, will the dry tyre be the tyre to stay on, or will it not? Is the real question. Obviously, the amount of time the dries will be losing now, but how much they might gain come the end of this, in the next 10 minutes or so. So we'll have to keep an eye on it and see what it's like.
It's going to be very close though, because we did see the track dry up very, very rapidly on the end of the previous rain spell at the start of the race. You said it was going to be 3 or 4 laps. Well, it was more like 2 laps before the water was completely gone from the track, and it went onto greasy and then onto green, or onto fast and optimum very quickly, as the water was just cleared very, very fast, very quickly. So we might see that now as well, as Faradinov is just dropped down another place. Board coming on through the 273 car on his way through, and Faradinov just driving into Uzebi, the number 29 car, currently 7th place. Just having a little contact with his back marker, Faradinov, causing it to go over the track and rejoin just a moment. Gossel is trying to catch up with Maple ahead, but the 62 Porsche out of that final turn just a bit too quick. The gap's increased to just over a second. Gossel's trying to maybe catch up again and go for that P15.
Yeah, obviously, actually another gap that's got quite close as well is that 118 car is actually dropping the gap to Stofko. So we'll have to see. It was around, I say that as it goes back up, but it was around 1.7. It went down to 1.5, and then now it's gone back up to 1.9. So the gap seems to be quite stable at the moment. We'll have to see, but I would expect these strides to be quite struggling right now.
Yeah, the wet tire, of course, being the favorite here in the damp track, but of course, the damp always being better for the dries than it is for on the wet track. As Yundas just makes an overtake on Mass for P23. Now, of course, being in a collision, Yundas being in a collision a little bit earlier, because we have a stop of 54 seconds. That's 24 seconds of repairs, of course, with Yundas being in, getting a little bit of contact in with, I believe that was, what was that again? One of the Ferraris might have left, or that's Kelly in, was Kelly in 13th place, is going in for a stop now. It's quite a big gap actually down to Yundas for Kelly, so we just have done a good job. Hanak now right behind Pryor though, currently 12th place, has got some things to do. Just went past Martinez, who stationary on the track, just got overtaken by Spencer and by Corredu, as Hanak did get the stop done, and is fighting with Vilsinger for some positions. Pryor makes a small mistake, and that's Hanak right on through the Aston Martin in the Aston Martin livery, just dropping down to P12.
Yeah, obviously quite a big mistake for Pryor. Then he had a massive twitch coming down to that long right-hander, and did obviously allow Hanak to sweep through like nothing, and that is allowing Hanak then to recover back up to P11. Obviously he did stop, and it put him down to P9, then he had to stop again for the wet tyre, and that put him down to P12, and he's currently back into P11. Yeah, he's got 9.3 seconds to P10, so he's still got some work to do in this final 30 minutes.
Yeah, Hanak's got some clean air, and meanwhile Filsinger has got company. Zabi, that we saw just having a small contact with the back marker, currently chasing down that 615 car in that long right hander where Hanak made that overtake on prior. Just a few moments prior, as Zabi tries to squeeze it on the inside. Small contact with Filsinger, and that is not the overtake that he wants to see. You're gonna see, look at that from a different camera angle for just a moment. We do see Zabi on the back there. Filsinger on that dry tire, braking very, very early. Slows down a lot, gets a small tap from the rear, and Filsinger right on through. Meanwhile, Goswell has gone on through on Sjogren, has gone on around the outside of the hairpin in the middle of sector 2, and Goswell up to third place. The gap to Lezama now 20 seconds. That was about 14 before all of these stops. So Lezama obviously getting the better run at it. A lap earlier pits compared to Goswell, and Goswell back to the place where he started at P3 as he's just trying to set in the chase. Stofko not too far ahead, who has stopped for the wets just another lap later, so he's lost some time compared to Goswell as well. So yeah, he's trying to set in the chase out in front.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to see Harry back in the pace in the wet. He's obviously got 1.4 seconds, like I said, 2 Stofko just ahead, like you mentioned. So let's see what he can do with that. And obviously the gap to the leader then, 20 seconds to Harry. So quite big, obviously. Porsche has done a fantastic job from pole position to hold on to that gap and just make the right calls at the right time. Obviously, it doesn't really help with Harry's penalty as such, but even if Harry didn't serve his penalty, it'd still be 10 seconds behind. So great job from the Porsche.
And as you were talking about that, we did see a nice battle here between Maple and Board. Board getting the overtake done in the final bit of the track. Maple holding on quite well and actually getting a sort of switchback done on the 273 car as Goswell just passed Stofko into the hairpin. Gonna see what happened there. Stofko made a small mistake. The 133 car out in front. The number 8 Aston Martin right behind. That's going to be defensive, not for Stofko. Goswell just on the inside, parking it on the apex. Better exit and just cleanly goes through. As of course the wet tire, the wet lines being a lot different than the dries. As Board might just showcase here as well. Maple towards the inside to defend. Board forced towards the outside of the track, and Maple still ahead. And the inside line working this time around. On the exit of the hairpin though, small little mistake there. Small little moan from Board, but that does give him a lot of traction on the exit. Has the inside line for the sweeping left-hander. And that's Maple a little bit too wide off the track, and the position goes to the 273 Ferrari.
Yeah, something else I might add to note is 10 minutes until the rain stops roughly. And then obviously the track's going to dry out. But if the track dries out as quickly as it did before, then we could see dry running, and this really could affect P1 and P2's race result, really. You've got 30 minutes left this race. And if everyone's going to have to stop again for dries, obviously some of these guys still on dries, then it could change the race lead.
Yeah, speaking of that, just taking a little look at the front here. Lezama gonna quickly do a little tire check in. Lezama is on the wets, currently 20 seconds ahead. If he stops, he will be quite far behind. Goswell in second place, obviously has stopped also on that wet. Stofko stopped a lap later again, also on the wet tire. And then we have Sjogren behind, who hasn't stopped in an hour and 10. Going to be towards the end of his stint, is on the dries and has to spit again, probably for another set of dries if he fancies. Nikon on another set of dry tires, who doesn't need to stop anymore to make this work, but neither do the top 3. So that's kind of the thing. You've got 2 choices once it dries up. Are you going to go stop for a dry set of tires to maybe capitalize on some good clean tires on a dry track, or are you going to stick it on the wets all the way to the end and hope it buffs out, hope that it works, and just hope that Nikon can't gain another 15 seconds or another 13 seconds on Stofko towards those final 10 minutes, that it is actually going to be a dry track. Over the last 15 minutes, it is going to be a dry track. A little bit further back, Uzebi also on one of those compounds that appears to be the dry one. Actually, no, he's on the wet tires. He stopped just 4 laps ago, as Sjogren is now indeed into the pits. We're going to see where he ends up with Uzebi on that wet tire. And Filsinger, like we said before, stopped about half an hour ago, and does appear to be on that dry tire, the same as Hanak, as I'm looking at it. So yeah, that is Hanak did stop actually for the wet compound a little bit later on. So that was about 10 minutes ago, about 12 minutes ago, on the same lap as Goswell. So Harry, you know, having a little bit of a think here, and Lizama as well. Xavi now right behind Nikon. Maybe tries to do something as the Ferrari ahead, the 909 car. Appears to be longer in his stint, and looking for some trouble here as well with the dry tires versus the wet. Of course, track conditions being damp, dry tires are not really showing too much, but Nikon maybe hoping for, like you said, the last bit that, you know, the track's gonna dry up, and all these cars will have to buff it out towards the end, trying to see if those dry tires will work. And Uzebi currently reaping the benefits out of this one.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to obviously keep an eye on how all that goes. Like I said, for me, I mean, it says stuff goes on dries. I'm seeing the tire will says on dries, so I'll have to see how that pans out. But like I said, the dry conditions are coming, and obviously stops will most likely be expected, as the track is already damp. So interesting strategies from everyone. Obviously, it's been quite a strategic race with it being non-stop wet dry. So I have to see how it affects the race result, or if it even affects the race result. I have to see. But obviously, multiple people on different tires at the moment, so I have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, so Stofko on that dry tire, small mistake on my end, is only 2 seconds slower compared to the wet tires of the drivers ahead. So Hanak now ahead of Perez, who was also on an alternate strategy, 151 currently for the number 72 car, and Hanak with his wet tire now in 10th place is closing in on the guys ahead, as currently the 118 car is given to Phil Sayers. Currently in 8th place, and let's see what tire compound they have snapped on that car. It does look like a dry one from what I can see so far. I have to take a little bit of a closer look at this to see if that really is the dry compound, and just keep looking at it head on. Let's give it one more moment until he crosses the line, and that is indeed a dry tire for Sayers in the 118 car.
Yeah, obviously dry is expected, so maybe an early pit stop. They're going to struggle for the next couple of minutes in these wet conditions, but as soon as it hits dry and the rain stops, we like we saw last time how quickly it got to the dry. So I'd imagine Sayers and the team will be looking for a good result pitting this early.
Oh, and as you were saying that, Sayers makes a small mistake on that first sector into turn 3, and has to recover back onto the track. Does that very neatly though, giving enough space to Party to go right on through, but he does lose out on a position, and Viseli, the number 19 Porsche, on his way through and up to P8. It's a small moment there from the 118 car, and of course maybe Sayers maybe a little bit sore from the 24 hours of Nordschleife over 2 weeks ago, as he did quite a bit of driving there too. Looking at the front runners, 49.2 for Lizama, and 49.9 for Stofko, and a 47.3 for Uzebi. So it's quite close out at the front, even with those different tires. Like I said, Stofko is on the dries and is only a second and a half slower than Goswell at the moment. And with these conditions just only improving and improving from now on, basically. It's going to be the dry tires with the advantage after it dries up just a tiny bit. And you know, I've seen before with those wet dry conditions that we've seen so far. Wet dry, I should say. The next dry is still to come. Track dries pretty quickly, so the crossover period isn't that big, and the dry tires are going to have the advantage pretty soon. Phil Singer now into the pits after only 32 minutes. Might look for an undercut here, or maybe that is to cover up Hanak's move down in P10 now. It's only 20 seconds is the gap, 15 seconds now. So they're going to have to move very quickly, and Hanak and Phil Singer were in that fight that we saw before, and Hanak might just get the upper hand here as he's crossing the start-finish line.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see, actually. Hanak, you're trying to find some more of the wet tracks, so maybe it is drying up already. We're just not seeing it as well on the camera. But yeah, it is looking like it would be a very fantastic final 20 minutes. So let's keep an eye on it. But that's Hanak getting out the way then of our race leader. So Hanak's been lapped by our race leader. So if that goes to show how quick our race leader is, I don't know what else does.
And that's the difference between pole and P2, by the way. Hanak starting on that front row has stopped about 15 minutes ago. And that's about 4 laps. And Filsinger taking the brunt of that one, being about 16 and a half seconds behind Hanak because of those extra laps that he's done on the other tire. Just a little bit longer, and Hanak is currently on the wets, and looks like Filsinger has gone back into the dries. So lots of strategies. I'd like to see a little graph towards the end to see what everyone's thought process was, and I think we're just going to see a scrambled mix of dries, wets, and extra pit stops just for damage or refueling. As Pryor does get close to Parrott now, the driver that was on one of those daring strategies, the 72 car. Same with the 909 car, was holding up quite well in P5. We did see them both lose out on 4 positions at the start, both up 1 place now compared to the starting position. So it's worked out quite just a tiny bit in their favor.
Yeah, definitely. We have to keep an eye on that. Obviously, Hanak actually making a massive slide. Wow. Obviously, Hanak then on the back of Sayers then. And he actually looking for a move. He's on the bumper coming down the straight then. Obviously, that BMW is going to be faster in a straight line, but the rain has now stopped. So we'll have to see how quickly the dries are benefiting. But I'd start to imagine it'd be quite shortly. You see Hanak goes all the way around the outside of the BMW then. Can he hold it? I don't think he can. He can. He's still got his nose in. He's still going to be side by side then. And they come up towards the hill. The BMW is ahead, but Hanak might look for the switchback. He doesn't get it, unfortunately. But he is going to get the better exit. So they're still going to be side by side then as they come down to the long right-hander.
Yeah, great defense from Sayers there into turn 3 and 4, turn 1 as well. Especially inside line here for Hanak. Tries to push Sayers wide a tiny bit. Sayers going for that inside line for the next turn. We did see Hanak brake very, very deep into the first corner, and now he just brakes a little bit earlier every single time to maybe try and see if he can gain a place by doing a cheeky little tactic. Of course, he's gonna try and send it on the inside. I was gonna say on the inside for the hairpin, but he sends it on the inside, on the corner before the hairpin, all the way up the hill, holding onto that outside line. Might fancy himself a little switchback here as Sayers tries to cover off the inside by sending it right back in, and then Hanak on his way to, like I said, that switchback, pushing Sayers a little bit too wide. Still within the limits, of course, but Sayers caught off guard by that one, and Hanak gaining the place. And that's a beautiful battle, starting from T1 all the way to the end of that second sector. Sayers is not done yet, tries to look on the inside, but Hanak just a little bit too far ahead and gains the place up to P8 for Hanak. As his AB exits the pits now. And
Harry's made a mistake.
Harry's made a mistake. He's about 8 seconds down.
Yeah, Harry, I don't know, I just caught the last of that. I saw a yellow flag for Connor Rakepops and he was in the gravel, so maybe a mistake for Harry on the wet tyres. Maybe the dry track is coming rather quickly.
Looking at the replay now, going up the hill for Harry in that British car. He was sandwiched between 2 cars as some other drivers went off as well, so that appeared to be some back markers that he was right in the middle of, and he got sandwiched in between, and that of course shows how careful you got to be by overtaking back markers. Of course, maybe they're in their own battle as well, and that of course not very happy times for Goswell as he was forced to go to the gravel. As we just saw a little bit of spray in that replay. That was a replay for 30 seconds earlier, and the difference is insane. We were out of the rain. It was completely started to dry. We didn't see any spray at all. I went back 30 seconds, there was spray. So within 30 seconds, the race is just the racing line is just cleared up enormously.
Yeah, I mean, not much of a surprise. We know how quickly it got dry earlier on. I don't even see puddles on the track anymore. So it has got dry within what? Not even, like I said, 30 seconds. So really insane thing, but it is going to affect a lot of these guys on the wet tires. Obviously, some of these guys still on dries from earlier on. Obviously, the dry tire now is probably going to be quite not as effective, but it is going to be probably better than overheating wets. So we'll have to keep an eye on what the driver's going to do, because people like Harry then have obviously just had an incident. Is now losing time to Stofko. So the gap was about 4 seconds after Harry had his incident. Now it's around 3.5. So Not really ideal at the moment for the wet runners.
Yeah, and a big fight here as well between Parrott and Pryor. The Aston Martin sliding around as I believe he is on that wet compound, going into the box now to go for those dry tires, and Parrott gaining the place here up to P10. And like you said, Stofko being on that dry tire already, he's got a bit of an advantage here. Gap now down to 3 seconds, and Goswell with that mistake just has to try and hold on. 16 more minutes. It's about 8 more laps, I would say. Maybe 9. No, it's about 8 more laps after this one from Lizama. Stofko 2.3 seconds now. Goswell really struggling with this one, and yeah, a pit stop from Stofko would, a pit stop from Goswell would put him way further down. Would put him into 4th place. Nikkonen would be passed as well. Pit stop from Lizama would also put him down towards 3rd or 4th, maybe even if it's a slow stop. So they probably don't want to go for that one. And Stofko just happy with this one. He's on the right tire, on the right pace. He's going to be catching Goswell anyway. He's going to have the tire advantage, going to have the grip advantage as the conditions change to greasy. So he's going to be happy to take P2 off of his hands immediately, basically. And then 30 seconds to Lizama isn't going to get it. But if the 194 Porsche decides to stop somewhere along the line, he gets a free victory. So yeah, it's a free P2 from the looks of it. About 2 seconds to gain.
Yeah, definitely. I'd imagine our leader then, and even Harry, might just try and hold out for the final 15 minutes. I'd like to imagine that's what they would like to try and do, but I'll have to see what they do individually. But temperature-wise, the track's gone up by a degree, so obviously the wet maybe cooling the track down, and obviously the temperature's now starting to pick up, so it starts to rubber in a little bit more. But interested to see if the temperature gets any hotter than it does. Obviously, it is later in the day now, so I wouldn't imagine it get too hot like it did before. But interested to see if it gets any hotter.
I was waiting until you noticed, but Lizama's into the pits. The leader's into the pits, and Goswell is going to retake the lead out of the final turn, going over the start-finish line. Retake that P1 that he got in the first stint, and got that 10-second penalty, which dropped him all the way back. He retakes that lead, and Stofko might just be happy with this, because Lizama is going to be on the dries, way too far back, still stationary. No way to catch Stofko in these final 14 minutes. And Stofko 1 target ahead on that wet tire. He's currently on the dries, and he has the tire. He has the advantage, and the one thing that he has to do is not bin it. That's all he has to do, and he gets the victory handed to him.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, Harry's going to try to put out defense, but Harry makes a mistake, and actually that has allowed Stofko to get through into P1. That's not really what Harry wanted. But like you said, I think that is now basically Stofko a free win, because I don't think Lizama can catch, 19 seconds in the final 13 minutes of this race. So Stofko, like we were saying in quali, he set a very late lap time, put himself up to P5, and went straight to P2 after lap 1, and just from there it's just done a masterclass, really.
And Stofko was one of the drivers you wanted to count out, saying that's a Ferrari, they're going to be dropping back from the start of the race, they're not going to be in the lead, in the mix for the lead pack. And he's done it into turn 1 with the incident between Goswell and Hanak, pushing a little bit too wide, getting Goswell that 10-second time penalty, Hanak all the way down the order, and Stofko getting a free 2nd place, which now turned into 1st place, with Lizama getting that extra pit stop in, and he could have won the race. I swear, with these changes in the lap time, it was about 2 seconds was the difference per lap. It was about 8 laps left. 16 seconds is what he had. He was about 30 seconds ahead of the lead. He didn't need to pit for those dry tires, but he did it anyway. He gave up the free win, and Stofko is just running away with it. 3.5 seconds ahead of Goswell. Make that 4. And yeah, the 133 Ferrari from Odyssey Esports is really punching air right now. He's really happy with this one. He's got to keep it on track for the next 12 minutes, 6 more laps, and we'll have a winner.
Yeah, definitely. I think Harry has stayed out, so he's trying to hold on. But like we said, the gap that Stofko's just pulled away from Harry, 4 seconds, and that was only half a lap. So I'd like to imagine Lizama would probably catch Harry relatively quickly, but Harry trying to hold on for a podium place. Because actually, speaking of, Nikkonen's only in P4, so that original strategy has sort of worked out for him, as he has gained a few places and is holding nicely. In P4, he's got a 33-second gap to Usby behind. So all the while, if Harry stops or gets caught by Lizama, Nikonen's there as well. So Harry might be losing out on all the way down to P4.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy from Goswell to drop down outside of the podium points. Of course, Nikkonen being on the dry tire as well, having that pace advantage. Like I said, it's only two seconds and a bit, which is absolutely crazy in my opinion to see that. Barrett down to P10 with that same strategy, the 72 car as the 909 car, also gaining 1 spot and being about 13 seconds ahead of the car behind as Hanak gets overtaken by Sayers once again, and Sayers up to P8 in the 118 BMW. Hanak in the 78 McLaren starting from 2nd place, absolutely demolished in the first lap, dropping all the way back, getting crazy strategy calls, and is now dropping down to P9. Might have to fancy himself a little move that's unorthodox, but he's dropped all the way back, and we do see the gap shrink to the front and from Lizama, as he's within the 10 seconds now of Goswell, as Stofko's just absolutely cleared him, and he's 7.5 seconds clear now, and this looks like the drive of a century, starting from P5, out of the positions that you said were going to be for the win, and I said no, it's the top 5 that are ready for the win, and once again the predictions have come through. And I'm glad that I said top 5 and not top 4, because now one of my predictions has come true once again. Stofko up in first place. In the gap between Goswell and Stofko is the same as the Zama's gap to Goswell as well. Actually, it's inverted now. Goswell's closer to the car behind than the car in front. Nikkonen dropped back a tiny bit. Current gap's about 6.5 seconds, but it's gonna shrink. Maybe as soon as Lizama gets ahead. Only 5 laps remaining for these drivers to prove their worth, to show that they can get that podium position, and Goswell has to hold on for about 15 more seconds to get Nikkonen behind. But if the difference is 2 seconds per lap, I don't think Nikkonen is going to have enough time, as we do see yellow flag caught somewhere, and that appears to be Nikkonen. The one driver we thought was going to be making a surprise appearance on the podium has just dropped back. We're going to see what that incident was. He's gone backwards out of turn 6. Just got the end of that one. Had to wait a little bit to rejoin, and he's out of contention. So it's now up to Goswell and Lizama to see who gets second and who gets third. But it's not looking that great for the number 8 car, and Lizama is on his way to set in the chase and get that 2nd place.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to imagine Harry's going to try absolutely everything to hold on to this, but I don't think he really has a choice. Actually, that Porsche can brake much later. He can corner quicker. It's going to be horrible for Harry, really, to have to cede this position, unfortunately. But both of them have driven a great race. You can actually see a blue flag trying to get past Harry as well. So that's how slow the wet tires are.
Yeah, and the blue flag currently getting out of the way. That was bored. And looking at Parrott for the back, does get a place of Hanak once again, up to P9 for Parrott. So yeah, the 72 car and the 909 car both getting 2 places off where they started. That's Lizama on through. Goswell right behind, still on that wet tire. Lizama doing a great job of catching the car in front and now getting the overtake done as well. Goswell just dropping back. Doesn't have too much to do here, as he's dropped way back. The back marker also making his way through. That is Board going right on through, and Mass is on his way past as well. And Goswell just caught by the back markers, caught by Lizama, and will be dropping down some places on the track. And now the task for Nikkonen is to get back onto the track and jump all the way up to that 3rd place again, if he fancies, if he gets close enough for that one. But I don't think the pace is there for the 909 car, as Goswell drops down the order, and Stofko, his lead is about 16 seconds, so if he makes a small mistake, it can still be very, very much lethal. The only difference between Stofko and Lizama is the tire age, which isn't too much. It's about, 23 minutes? That's about 7-8 laps.
Yep.
Even more, it's about, that's about 10-11 laps, which is quite a lot actually, but it's not enough to warrant gaining that 16-second gap within the next 4 laps. So Stofko doing a victory drive and just having to hold on to that. Sayers is now past Vesely. You just see Sayers fight with Hanak, as Hanak drops down one more place and Sayers jumps up one more place. So the 118 car back to where they started, and P7, great job at the overtake there. And now have to look up ahead. It's 42 Aston of Tarle is now on the next target, but of course with only so many minutes remaining, I don't think you can call it that much of a target anymore.
You mentioned that maybe Nikon doesn't have the pace, but he's currently dropped the gap by about 5 seconds already, and it's only been a lap. So potentially Nikon could get this podium place off Harry.
Like you said, the previous lap was about 6 seconds of a difference. And granted, Goswell got overtaken by Lizama and also 2 back markers. He's going to have to make up some pace, but 6 seconds. You know what? You might actually be right. Goswell might just be very close inside the number 8 Aston. Just saw him disappear on the screen. Just as a small moment with 3 back markers in between. One of those back markers being Raheem and Low right in behind that as well. They're currently fighting, and that is appears to be Goswell trying to go right on through as Raheem tries to make an overtake on the 55 car. Velizanski nowhere to go but follow through on Goswell. 3 wide now on the downhill. It's going to be very, very close. Let's see who gets out in front. It appears to be Raheem out in front. Goswell right in the middle of that one. He's going to be looking towards the inside, trying to make the overtake on Raheem here, but doesn't get the space. Drops down behind and now gets Velizanski right behind him. And Raheem's task now is to just get all the way out, as Velizanski's not very happy with this one. He's going to be looking to get the overtake done on Goswell as well. Into the final turn, a bit too wide on the exit for the number 8 Aston. And the gap increases between Raheem and Velizanski, and he's not going to be happy with that one, as he does end up getting the overtake on Goswell. So you do see Filsinger on Hanak now once more. So the change in strategy, the change in pit stop order from these 2 cars have put them back into contention for a fight. Hanak now down on Filsinger, up to P10 again for the 615 car. Now 3-way battle between Party, Maple and Farudinov, as Farudinov currently holding on to P14. More cars in the mix there as well. That's Martinez on the grass, is dropping back just a tiny bit. Sayers is with them as well, trying to make his way through, currently in P7, trying to lap these back markers right on through, as Farudinov can pull away just a tiny bit, but Maple in the Porsche right behind, trying to slot on through. We do see Parrott now within half a second of Vesely, trying to get that overtake done on pace. Is about 5 seconds, so that does appear that Vesely is currently on that wet tire, as Nikon is now dropped in within the second as well. Parrott trying to make his way on the inside, does so through that final turn and gets the overtake done. Nikon is going to be doing the exact same thing on the uphill now for 3rd place. A small bang to the side of Goswell to show him, I have the pace, this is my position. Now I'm going to be running away with it around the outside. The number 88 car of Low in P23, a little bit behind, or a little bit ahead I should say. But needs to be behind as it's a blue flag and this is a 5th position, but I don't think it's much of a fight. Nikon gets past and Goswell drops down to 4th place with only 3.5 minutes to go. Our podium places in the past 15 minutes have just jumped up and down the order.
Yeah, unexpected to be honest. I mean, we knew Harry was going to lose time, but he's already lost 4 seconds to Usby. I mean, I doubt Usby will catch, but I mean, I could be wrong. But the amount of time, obviously, that wet tyre does lose you is really incredible. He's just dropping places to blue flags as well, left and right.
And we did see a great overtake by Party, but he got tapped in the rear. A small contact sends him into the barrier, and the number 71 Ford now has to wait for an entire train of cars to pass. Does get out of the way just barely for Vesely to go right on through. And Filsinger is going to be setting the chase here. But yeah, like you said, it's too big of a gap to maybe get the position. But like you said before, Goswell lost about 4 or 5 seconds a lap to Nikkonen. The pace difference between Goswell and Uzebi now 10 seconds on the previous lap. So that is going to be an absolute banger if they can make this happen. 2 laps remaining, of course. I do think there's only 1 lap after this. No, 2 laps after this one actually. And we did see Hattem in the 69 car gain a 15-second time penalty. That was with the incident with Hattem and House, I think it was, in the 885 car down in P28. We saw that incident on the stream, of course, a little bit earlier, as Vesely and Phil Singer are currently going side by side on the start-finish straight. The McLaren have a little bit of the edge on the Porsche out of the exit. You shouldn't expect it, but that McLaren, a way better exit there, and Vesely has to stick behind. There's a few back markers in the middle of that. Screw back markers. That's Stofko trying to go on through. The leader of the race, as we do see Eusebi now catching Goswell, and it's within a second now. There's no way he does not get this overtake. Goswell's been dropping like a rock, like a stone towards the inside for Eusebi, sticking in his nose, and Goswell knows that this is nothing he can do, and he just drops back down the order. Sayers tries to get an overtake done as well, but does get overtaken back, and Eusebi is all the way through, and that's Starley going off the track, and Sayers getting up to P6. That's another place gained for the 118 car, and Eusebi overtaking Goswell, trying to put Harry in his place, way down in 5th place. Now Eusebi up to 4th. So looking to set in the chase for the lead. About 2 seconds per lap is the pace difference between Eusebi and Nikkonen for that podium position. But the gap is about 9 seconds, so he'd need about 10 laps, or about 5 laps to do so. And we simply do not have that time, as Stofko will be with a 11 second lead, starting his final lap in just a moment's time. As Hanak does get a 10-second time penalty, and that doesn't change too much in the final standings. The gap behind is about 30 seconds.
Yeah, obviously penalties are now being started to pick up, but there will be a lot more to come. So most of this will be unfortunately have to be post-race stewarded. But obviously the stewards will work very hard to try and get that done as quickly as possible. But like you said, it's been an absolutely magical race for Stofko. Then 20 seconds left on the clock. He will set another lap time, unless he decides to slow down. But I think he'll go for another lap. But yeah, what an incredible race it's just been. I mean, from all drivers really. It's been a really, really interesting race.
Imperative getting one final overtake done into turn 1. The 72 car and the 909 car both having unorthodox strategies, but starting on a dry tire in the wet, but it has paid off. Nikkonen in the 909 car up 3 spots from where we started, and Parrott 4 places up from where he started in the 72 Ferrari. So big moves there from these two drivers as they make their way onto the end of this race. The white flag is out, signaling to every single driver that the leader has started their final lap, and Stofko on his way to finish this one out in style. Fastest lap currently in the hands of Lizama, a 141.345 set in the I think that was in the middle stint where the conditions were optimum and the tires were all new. Definitely not one of the, might actually be one of the more recent ones actually, but let's find out soon, as Phil Singer overtakes Tarla as well. He's made a mistake off the track, drops down 1 more place and down to 9th position, as there is still a fight going on between P18 and P19. Gossel and Board trying to duke it out on this final lap as well. Don't have too much more space to go, and Board needs to make it happen somewhere within the next 1.5 sectors. Doesn't have too much time to gain, but overtaking of course is number 2.
Yeah, I see. And then we see then Stofko coming around the final corner, just lapping the final blue flag driver for him, as he will now come to the final corner then, as another driver gets out of his way, comes towards the line to win a very well masterclass strategically to win the 2 hours of Kayalmi hosted by ACM and SimHaven. What a race that was.
That was absolutely fantastic stuff, taking that checkered flag, and everyone else behind just slotting on in. Quickly going to check in with Board real quick, as he's right behind Gossel, flashing a little bit, showing some friendly signs. That's some banging. Gossel trying to slow down, and Board just going ahead, and he's going to leave Gossel past now. So that is, as it were, through that final turn. Lizama through the start finish line as well. Nikkonen with a masterclass in strategy too. Not only Stofko, but Nikkonen as well. 5th and 6th on the grid, up to 1st and 3rd. A double podium for these guys. Absolutely amazing for the Ferrari guys. Absolutely crazy. Eusebi not too far behind in 4th place, and Goswell unfortunately dropping back quite far. He's driving right behind Oliver Yundas in 24th place, as he's just dropped down from 2nd place down to 5th, and he's crossing the line now, taking home that 5th place. And of course, unfortunate for Goswell, as he's had a pretty good race, but unfortunately no podium for him.
No, unfortunate really. I did start to wonder if he managed to get himself a puncture, because he's been on those wet tyres for quite a long time. But unfortunate, but he does luckily hold on to P5. Very unfortunate, but he had the pace, but just unfortunate final couple of laps.
Yeah, and looking at the view from Stovko, you can see his rival, the 194 Porsche of Lizama, doing an absolute blast of a donut and maybe grabbing a puncture himself in just a few moments' time. As the final drivers are crossing the line, one of those being Parrot going across the line now, and then of course we have everyone across the line now. A few drivers into the pits, which of course don't count fully towards the end. So we're gonna wait for just a few moments more. But your victor of this race is Stovko. Fantastic run from P5, and yeah, once again, the predictions have come in, and you know what? I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. It's just I've been right every single time. So it's 2 for 2 at this point. So absolutely amazing to see as well, to see this come through in the 133 Ferrari. Stovko doing an amazing job in the 2-hour race here.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I'll say I was wrong in the prediction. But yeah, he's driving his little cool down lap, but what a race from him.
I did see Harry being a little bit upset about that strategy, exclaiming in the chat, just telling everyone that was not the strategy and not 100% capitalized. So Gospel not being too happy with the strategy that he picked for himself, but unfortunately that was only up to himself. So Hatton got another 10-second time penalty added to his time, which does drop him down 25 seconds in total, but that is still quite close to getting to getting losing another position, but he does keep it in the end, and that would do it for all of this with the 2-hour race. So, any final words from you, Lily?
No, obviously, keep updated. Obviously, we've got plenty more races coming. I'm sure, hopefully, we'll have a few more partnered as well with SimHaven and ACM. And hopefully, it'll be me and you again in the comms box. So have to keep an eye if there's any more events like that. But obviously, for now, obviously, that's all from me.
Yeah, perfect. Of course, I also hope to be back in these comm boxes again. It's been an absolute joy to commentate on these events. Of course, 24 hours of Nordschleife we had before with SimHaven and ACM, the 2 hour of Kayalmi as well today. Obviously, a fantastic blast, and yeah, it's gonna be fantastic to see. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting. I've been Olaf, aka Bob's Racing. I've been here with Lily in the comms box from ACM. If you wanna go check some things out from ACM, you can do that. We're here on the ACM Twitch channel. There should be some links right around the corner where you can check out everything from ACM. Go to their Discord, or go to the Sim Grid and stay updated with the other events that should be hosted by ACM soon. And maybe you'll see us or hear us again in the comms box sometime soon. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.